This goes out to a real one. R.I.P. Desmond, Attica, and Mofa.
Dang.
Joy-Con boys for life.
Facts.
Rest in peace, my dude. Much love.
Rest in peace.
Bing, bang, boom. It's the two realest dudes in the room. Coming at you all the way down in yours, yeah? In the lavender beds. Zalera server. Maybe you heard of it. If not, that's pretty much standard. On my left, right? I don't know where he is right now, but King Black.
It's your
doing,
boy.
sir?
Yeah, man, I'm doing pretty good, my man.
You doing good?
Yeah, I'm excited for this talk, man. I was looking forward to this ever since I got my hands on early access. I was like, okay, I really want to know what Kehda's thinking about this thing, because I have a lot of thoughts about this thing.
All right, so
we got a hot one, boys. We got a hot one.
Hot one?
Oh yeah, this is hot, man. This is hot.
I'm not sure if that's a good hot or a bad hot.
Man, the block is hot. I don't know. I'm not gonna spoil what kind of hot it is, but the block is hot.
All right. There's a couple of hot ones today.
Mm-hmm.
No TM. But all right, here we are then. This is going to be one of our chill sessions. Off the cuff podcast right here. Your two boys, real young bloods going on. And you know what it is. Shadowbringers just launched yesterday, but we all know the real launch was last week. Last Friday, 28th. Come on, everyone was playing that early access. They should just not even call it early access anymore.
That's when the real ones play anyways. All the fakes come in on Tuesday. They all come late, bro.
And I have to say, overall, it was a rather smooth launch. At least on our
boy.
But I hear that there are other things.
Oh, okay. Wait.
No, so I don't know how real this is, but apparently there were DDoS attacks, whatever, on the I think it was like Aether, maybe. But
really?
Even that was minor, like super minor thing. Some people were coming over to Zalera just to the smoother experience, but this is like nitpicky stuff. Overall, compared to the past ones, smooth as butter.
Man, so I came in, I logged in like, we'll say like a half a day kind of late from because I didn't play like the hour it came out. It was like 5 a.m. I was like, nah, I'm good. I had my days of doing that a long time ago. You know, I'm an adult now. I'm good. I'll do that. I'm old, man. I'll wait till later. So I hop on the game at like 5 p.m. my time, right?
Oh, okay.
Hop on, log in, no waiting list. I was like, ooh, no wait. Okay, all right. Come into it, go through the whole Shadowbringers, doing what I do, skipping cutscenes, gang, skip cutscene, gang.
You pain.
Oh yeah, man. Skip cutscenes to the day I die. So I'm skipping, right? And man, never pokeballed one time. Didn't see nobody pokeball. Didn't see people get kicked. I never got kicked. It was this I thought I was getting trolled. I was like, am I even playing the expansion? I'm like, I'm in a new area, but this is too smooth.
Yeah.
So I was shocked, and I was talking to everybody else, and they were like, yeah, I think I got kicked one time, but I've been playing for 14 hours now. I was like, oh shit. Right? It's crazy, man.
Mine would be just pretty much the same thing as you, but I started at the beginning. I stayed up. I was the madman.
Okay.
After we had our little chat, while I was waiting. 5 p.m. hit, and they didn't do it early because the past two expansions, they opened up the servers an hour, half an hour early, and I was betting on that, but they didn't do it this time. They were like, but we're using every single chance we get to fine tune everything. They're making sure this engine is purring like a kitten, and started up, loads up fine. got a waiting list of what the number I hit? I hit that 336,
Okay.
and then not even like 10 seconds later, bam, it drops down to like 257. Bam, it drops down to like 105. And
Wow.
boom, I'm in. Yeah, so it took me like not even 5 minutes. You know, I'm in there with Alex and Dragon. They're still waiting to get in. I think, it's just, even they didn't wait that long. I mean, they waited maybe 7 minutes tops. You know, they weren't waiting that much long after me.
That's pretty good, man.
Logged in, yeah, and I'm logged in right up on with people next to the Gunbreaker job class teacher. A bunch of people like clicking on it at the same time. Nothing was going wrong. I probably played for about maybe 4 hours.
Okay.
And it was nice. I really had no complaints, no jittering, anything like that. And bruh, you know, when I finally got into the story, you know, after I got away from Gunbreaker, this is, if people are looking for your next mainline Final Fantasy, this is it right here. This story starts off with a bang. It just hits the ground running.
Yeah,
and it doesn't stop.
From what I've heard, everybody is like really, really happy with the story, and I was like, okay, cool. Everybody's, you know, happy with it. Like my little FC I'm in, they have they actually have a section in the Discord that
Your
is
quarantine zone.
yeah, it's specifically for story stuff, but they have it blocked out. Like it's called the spoiler channel. So people will be like talking and saying stuff, right? But it's all blocked out. So you have to click it in order to see the spoiler that they're talking about.
That's good.
And I was like, dang. And the whole chat is like filled. It got filled up real fast. And I was like, okay, there must be some hot stuff going on in the story. I'm like, okay, that's cool. You know, the story's actually like starting off pretty lit apparently. So I thought that was what's up.
Yeah, the level of quality and it's just top notch. And I will say, in things have gotten steadily better for the most part. I will say, looking back in the whole landscape of things, Stormblood was kind of a lower point for me personally.
Same, bro. Same.
Heaven's Ward, it had its issues with some pacing, as far as like questing, but the story saved it in the initial, you know, 3.0 launch, and it was a solid expansion, solid story, all that stuff. And looking at this, like just the quality's been dialed up to like 11.
Right.
It's just so much more polish, so much more variety in the quests. Like the things that you're doing, like you I know you didn't do you're skipping the story like you do as a scrub. But you've seen some of the mini games like that. You play that potential minor spoilers right now, but the card game.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I messed around with that one. That was slightly annoying, to be honest with you.
Oh no, you annoyed with it?
Oh yeah, I was super. Well, okay, let me tell you why I was annoyed. Because my reasoning for being annoyed with it is weird, right? So
okay. You failed?
No. I got them both on my first try. It was really easy. I was like, okay, whatever. It was just, I felt like it was annoying because it was ruining my pacing. Because here's what Shadowbringers did to me. Because I'm big on like, what's the gameplay like, right?
Okay, your investment is somewhere else.
Yeah, that's mostly where my kind of whole the gameplay is what I was looking forward to in Shadowbringers. I really don't care about story. I'm never gonna pretend to, you know what I'm saying? It was just kind of like a lot of the talking and dialogue ruined the pacing for me because the first dungeon is so fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Yo, man, that dungeon, I was like, holy shit.
It was hype.
Gaming is back. Man, that dungeon had mechanics. I was like, yo, this is like a Realm Reborn. Like I was like, man, it felt like I had to go in with like a because my first run,
A real mindset.
well, my first run, I know I went in with people that raided. I 100% know because it was just too smooth. Like the mechanics were really, really tough, but it was like
You picked up on it instantly.
well, not only that, it was the fact that like see, okay, back in the day, back in the Realm Reborn, what I would do why I liked it so much is I would run certain dungeons before I would raid as a warm-up. Now, these past two expansions, that never existed because all the dungeons were dog shit. Like, there was nothing that, like, would challenge you other than doing the raid with a pug. But, like, these dungeons, these gonna get you nice and warm right before a raid. You know, you're gonna be, everything's gonna be tight. It's gonna be, like, everything's gonna feel natural. I don't know. It was amazing, man. I was blown away.
It feels like it's been implemented purposefully.
Oh yeah.
With intent. And because I know like one that like stuck out to me a lot in that first dungeon, the second boss, where you have the mechanic where everyone gets a number. 1, 2, 3, or 4. And you have to spread out, amongst each other, so you don't clip each other with the damage and stuff. It's actually really smart.
So good.
And really clever. And that's actually a mechanic from
I remember it's like from some Alexander fight back in the day.
It is from an Alexander fight. If I remember correctly, it's from like turn 3. The fight right before Alexander. The airship one. I forget his name. It's an old Final Fantasy reference, but I can't remember the name for the life of me. But he had a similar mechanic, but it wasn't as understandable at first glance as it is here.
Right.
Like it was kind of cryptic, the mechanic inside the Savage. So they found a way to implement it, the same one, but make it way more understandable, at first glance, So I can already see that they're already like learning from their own mistakes and how to refine and polish a lot of things, which is really good.
Right.
And you went in with a natural group. So I come in from a different perspective. I came in with the trust system.
Oh, okay, yeah. Talk to me about that. How did that? Because I have my theories on that, but I'm interested. Go ahead, tell me about that.
I'm loving it.
Really?
I've ran every single dungeon so far with that first.
Wow.
As part of my story immersion, and this ties into all of this feeling like a true Final Fantasy game once again, and it's just pulling out my nostalgia right now. And the AI is super just competent. It can do mechanics really well, and you don't really have to. You're not carrying them. For some people, some of them may be getting carried by the AI. The AI can be so good sometimes.
Right.
But the little details and little banter. I know you're not going to care too much about it, but for the people that do, you're really going to enjoy the experience that you get. That because it's always weird when you go through a dungeon and then you have 3 other random people that have no ties to your own personal experience, and then the other guys come in. Oh, I'm glad you guys survived. I'm glad you made it. Well, we just made it in the nick of time. It's like, where were you? Bitches, like 5 minutes ago. We went through that whole thing by ourselves. But now you don't have those situations. You can actually go through there with them, and they're with you, going through it, experiencing what you're experiencing, and it adds to the narrative, and it just builds on the storytelling and makes it even better personally.
Well, it's interesting. It's funny you say that because in some of the main story quest parts, they have opened them up a lot more to where you and the side character, whoever the person you're helping or supporting, you're going with them together. And from even though I didn't really care about story, for a brief moment I actually caught myself caring about the people I was going into battle with, kind of sorta in a weird way. So it was like, granted, they didn't do a whole lot, but I would see them fighting enemies, and like the enemies would beat the shit out of them. And I'm like, yo, get off my dude. You know what I'm saying? It'd be like kind of
right.
So
Nah, yeah, it gets invested a bit.
yeah,
For a little
it
bit.
caught me for a bit. I was like, ooh, I'm kind of caring about these characters because it's like we're going into it together instead of just being in those stupid circles that they always do, where it's like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
And like the solo duty variety has been pretty good too. Like they're almost mini dungeons.
Yeah.
In some aspects. And I won't name what it is for people who haven't got there, but there's one dungeon at, I guess, the halfway point, which is, it has its own little interesting puzzles and mechanics that are just like,
Oh, yo,
it's
I
exclusive.
love that.
You know,
Yo, that was
right?
so cool. I was like, yo, I'm like Indiana Jones and all that kind of stuff. Man, that was so cool.
Yeah. So like, oh man, I'm giddy right now.
Well, it's crazy because it was like the whole time I was doing it, I was like, yo, this is exactly what they did in so they're basically taking the Guild Wars 2 formula. Because Guild Wars 2 has a lot of stuff like that, but it's not an instance. It's
Okay.
actually in the game. Like you don't like, you know, go into an instance dungeon or whatever. It's just like the character is there. And I feel like if they can get to that point,
Yeah.
I would care more about the story, because as far as Guild Wars 2 is concerned, I didn't skip any cutscenes in that game. I watched every single one of them just because the characters felt more alive instead of just me like queuing up to go meet them. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, I don't even know where to go from here, man. Because I want to talk about a lot, but because I don't want to spoil anything for people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Well,
okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So what job are you like?
Ooh, here we go. This is the one I was. Oh boy, man. All right, look. Hot take. All right. I'm gonna be real with you, Kehda. I'm gonna tell you the best class in the game right now
All right,
that
go for
nobody's playing. The best class in the game right now is Black Mage. It is the best class in the entire game. Nobody knows because nobody's playing it, but it is the best class in the whole game.
it. Hands down.
It is the man. Black Mage got some crazy shit that I didn't even understand until like I read the tooltip, what they, you know, what the ability was saying they did and everything, and I was talking with Ika, like kind of theory crafting, like, well, Ika, how the hell do I use this? Is this really how this works? He's like, well, I don't know. That sounds a little broken. I'm like, yeah, it really does. And then I find out that it works exactly how he said. Like, Black Mage is busted right now.
Like in theory, this should work, but
It is
there's
so
no idea too crazy
freaking
for that to
good.
be. Okay. Well, what level are you? What makes it so good?
Oh man! All right, so right now I think I'm level like 60. No, I'm sorry, not 60. 77, almost 78.
Okay, so you're not even max level, and you already see the potential.
Yeah, so we're pretty much at the end at this point as far as like abilities. We only get like one more ability, but this is gonna sound. Black Mage has form shift from Monk.
Oh.
Yeah,
Ooh.
it's actually insane. So the way it works is that like, did you play Black Mage any at all? Dabble in it any?
I maxed it up to 70.
Okay, perfect.
So yeah.
This is gonna make perfect sense then. All right. So
Okay.
you know, like, you use your Blizzard 3, and then you use your Blizzard 4 to get those little Umbral Hearts, right?
Yeah.
So usually after you do like a fire spell and all your mana's gone, you would no, actually, let's say you flared, right? So you flare and all your mana's gone. So you can't use Blizzard 3.
Okay.
You'd have to convert and then go to your ice thingy, right?
Yeah.
So now they let you use the opposite element with 0 mana cost.
Oh.
So if I have 0 MP after I flare, I can cast Blizzard 3 for nothing.
For free?
Yeah, for free. I don't have to convert or anything.
And then go straight into ice stance?
Yeah.
So it just makes everything flow.
Right. And so and then on top of that, you know how like there's those moments where like bosses jump and you can't refresh your ice or anything like that?
Mm-hmm.
So they have an ability now where you use it and it has a cooldown of like a second, and you can use it every second at no cost. And what it does
it's only
is
a 1 second timer?
Yeah, it's like it says 2 seconds, but it's really like a 1 second timer. You can spam that shit. It's an instant cast too.
Wow. Okay.
So what it does is that it stacks ice for you. And if you get full ice stacks with it, it'll start stacking your umbral hearts for nothing. And then it resets your timer over and over and over and over.
You have no downtime. So like, there's no downtime for Black Mage?
There is no downtime anymore. So like, if a boss jumps and you're like, oh, I'm gonna lose my Enochian or Enochain or whatever, if you lose it, it's literally impossible to lose it now. It's impossible. Like, convert is like, there's no point in even using it anymore. Like, if people, I mean, I can see some instances where you would not use it, but for the most part, like, convert is like, you don't even need it. And then the other thing is they have this new ability called what is it called, man? I think it's called it's called Despair.
Okay.
So Despair, the way it works, it's like a single target flare.
Okay.
So it does almost the same damage as Flare with none of the drop off. And so if you like don't have enough mana for another Fire 4, you can just Despair, and then it just does, I think, way more potency than Fire 4, but it depletes all your mana, and then you just go into Blizzard 3 with 0 mana. It's insane.
It sounds like this is how you streamline and make things accessible for people without taking away from the job.
Yeah, they the job still has the difficulty because of you need to be still.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's like, you're never gonna get away from Black Mage, I feel like, you know.
Right. But as far as like being fun to play, I think this is the funnest that this class has ever. I feel like we're gonna see a lot more people playing Black Mage than ever before, because it's just a hell of a lot of fun.
Well, maybe I'll have to stick my foot into it a little bit more, because I do have it already at max and Stormblood max at level 70.
Right.
You know, and I've always enjoyed Black Mages just in my off time, but I don't know. It's never good. It was just my dessert class, you know, my guilty pleasure. It's like, yeah, I'll play this on the side, you know, for fun.
Like, I say, I mean, for you and anybody listening, man, I say, if you got Black Mage at like 70, bro, like get it to like 74 and then just see how you feel. And yeah, I mean, if you notice any of the things that I noticed, you probably might just max that thing out.
Yeah.
You may not raid with it, but you might, if you feel like blowing stuff up in dungeons, you might, mess around with Black Mage.
Ah, man.
Alright, so I'm gonna stop gushing about that, man. I was, man, Black Mage is so fun, man.
You're making me jelly, man. You're making me jelly that you're connecting here with your job right now.
I'm hyped for it, man. I'm here for it.
So, mine's a little bit different.
Oh, okay. Did you go monk or did you go the other gunbreaker?
It feels like I'm cheating on an ex right now, you know.
Oh no. Okay.
So I am leveling up monk through the story.
Okay.
But my side piece and I have been going through Heaven on High, leveling up secrecy though. And I'm just saying, I'm having more fun. I'm having more fun with Gunbreaker, because it pains me to say this, but when our buddy Dragon, he asked me straight up, so how you liking Monk so far? How's it feel? It feels empty, is what I said.
Really?
Quote for quote, yeah. And this was probably when I was at level 74.
Oh wow! So you got to kind of sink your teeth in it a bit.
Yeah. A lot of it has been stripped away from 70. So you know the meme where you see Monk driving off in the crossroads.
That's the exact one I was thinking about. Yeah.
It is exactly that. We went back to Realm Reborn because everything was stripped away down to that point for the most part. With one exception, they took away our Realm Reborn skills as well. But yeah, it's the flow of the class is weird. Playing through, it's like you don't gain any skills leveling up, except for one. So I'm level 76 right now at the moment.
Okay.
And the only skill that I've gotten is Enlightenment, and that's it's basically like Forbidden Chakra, just AoE form, a chakra spender for your gauge, you know. So it's just an AoE tool, a line AoE, and then the other stuff has been have been traits, which the traits actually would be welcomed, but right now they don't feel like they have anything to build off of the traits. You know, they don't have anything to support with.
I see.
You know, the traits are really complementary to your overall kit, and right now the traits are there in this kind of bare bones package. And so the trait that you get a trait that extends your Grease Lightning 4, which is nice. You get that at level 76, and then you get another one that increases your chakra stack. You know the RNG. You know how you acquire your stacks. You know the procs.
Right.
That increases your procs from 50% to 70%. It's like, okay, that's nice, but as I play, I don't feel a difference between 50% and 70% right now. So I don't see where the stacks are coming up, you know, way more abundantly than what they would be, or what you would think they would be, at least. There's some other changes. So now, the shoulder tackle has been changed. So like, it's a charge skill now, so you get two shoulder tackle expenditures. You know, you can use it twice. But the caveat is you don't gain a Grease Lightning stack anymore like you used to. So they removed that. So now, like, when like you weave in shoulder tackle, it's kind of like in this weird limbo for me personally. It's like, okay, I'll use it, but like I don't feel like I'm lining it up with anything. I'm just using it to use it. Without before, I was able to like line up with something, or I was able to use it to gain stacks to progress something else to get up, you know, higher in my Grease Lightning. So it's kind of just there. Perfect balance, not perfect balance. Dragon Kick. So Dragon Kick now doesn't have the blunt resistance down anymore.
Right.
So they gave it Leaden Fist, and what that does is makes your next Boot Shine skill do have a potency of 290 and boosts it, which is really nice. When you line that up, you can get some stupid numbers on that skill, and that's something I will say. The class has a lot of. I'm like looking at like, wow, okay, I only like gained like 2 levels, and I'm already seeing my DPS increase tremendously just because from the potency.
Right.
The potency on the skills are just stupidly huge from anyone who's main monk, and see the difference. Like, wow, okay, this is something I'm not particularly used to on this job, you know. But so it feels satisfying there. It's like, okay, at least the numbers are high. But as like I go through my rotation, it what's the way to put it? It feels like there's no agency right now. Like there's like all these skills but no intent behind them. like, what am I doing everything for? Why am I going through my rotation for? Before, you had a flow to where you were using off global cooldown buffs and skills to propel yourself to your max DPS, and then maintaining that throughout the fight. Now it kind of feels I'm just meandering through the rotation and not purposefully lining things up to maximize my DPS at the moment. I don't know, and it's still, there's still hope per se by the end of it, because I haven't unlocked all my skills, but pretty darn close. There's 2 skills left that I have not unlocked. So it's Anatman, which is basically meditation from Samurai, and that, it stops the decrease of your increased lightning stats and actually lets you gain stack while you hold it for 20 seconds. And then Six-Sided Star, that is it's an off combo ability. It's not an off global cooldown ability, but it's just not part of your main combo. And it has a potency of like either 400 or 500, and it slows you down to 5 seconds on your global cooldown, on your GC. So there's basically the potential for a DPS window there, but I'm only afraid because there's no skills to weave in while you have a slower GCD. So
I think I know what's happening. I think. So there was an interesting little post that my FC posted in one of their little channels or whatever. And the post was about just like general numbers that classes are pulling.
Yeah.
And from the way it looks like, generally speaking, all the DPS are about even now. Where like under like the average play, like if you take 2 average players, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what DPS class they play. They'll be pretty much even as long as it's not Dancer. Like apparently, like Dancer is like super weak.
Busted. I mean weak?
Yeah, it's pretty weak.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But it's
like that.
It's a support class, so it's like some people have been pretty upset about that actually. Like, oh, Dancer needs to be buffed, and it's like, well, they can't buff it because it's a support class, so like it wouldn't really make sense.
Okay, I guess it's not. I guess Dancer may not be satisfying for the user if they're looking for stupid numbers with it. But yo, I have a Dancer in the party. That dungeon's gonna be done in no time flat.
It's weird. I don't really feel their presence at all, to be honest with you.
Really? Oh, I've noticed
I don't feel it. I mean, I've ran with a couple of them. And it just didn't really do nothing for. I mean, the buffs were cool, but it was like it kind of didn't matter. Like I didn't feel like the fights were going by much faster. I felt like the fights were going by slower, to be honest with you.
What?
Yeah, I felt like they were much slower, and because I thought about it, right? I'm thinking like, okay, I've ran this fight with a bard, and the Dancer's damage was like so small. Granted, they were increasing my damage, but I'm still one person still, you know what I'm saying? As opposed to like they don't double me to make one person 2 people, you know what I'm saying? Because some of the other DPS I ran with that were like really pumping out numbers, and I was too, stuff got melted. But with the Dancer, it was like stuff was getting melted, but not quite to snuff with like, I feel like they're better in an 8-man party rather than just like a dungeon setting, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, that's how Monk was in Stormblood.
Right.
I mean, you didn't see its full potential until you got into those bigger comps.
Exactly, yeah.
Where it had people to bump it up and so it can play off of. Well, maybe I just got lucky with some people who understood the class.
That's also possible, yeah.
I was like, oh my god, I could see a difference between night and day. Like people like just mobs just melting from when parties that I've had a dancer and parties I didn't have a dancer with. So yeah, I was actually kind of surprised. And who knows, maybe this dancer just meshes well with monk. I've been hearing theory crafting about that may be a thing.
Okay.
The way that their relationship as far as their skills, crit being a big one, how monk of course benefits from crit from the jump,
right,
with how its toolkit is, and since all your chakra stats are tied to that trait, but then the more that you benefit from those skills, it also bumps up dancer even more and makes dancer stronger, from how I understand the relationship. Now I don't know the intricacies of the class itself,
right,
just to talk real specifics, but just as far as like a layman's guide to it, that better the dance player does, the better the dancer will do. The more the dancer will reciprocate from it, from the relationship.
I see. That makes sense. I felt like it'd be better. I don't know why. I also felt like it'd be better on melee classes too, just because like I think some of their stuff depends on like a range of some type.
Yeah.
Like the distance from the other person, and I felt like so I think Ika was telling me about like for some abilities you have to be on like melee range or whatever for them to go off. And it's like, well, if you're a caster, I mean, typically you're not going to be all up on the boss unless you're like one of those try-hard casters that tries to get like auto attacks while they're casting. Which, I mean, granted, it's a DPS increase. I mean, it's not a whole lot, but I mean, there are people that do that. So
yeah. min maxers.
Oh yeah, man, those people, they go insane. They're like, all right, I'm gonna get right up on the boss and position in a way to where like I'm all up in them. Which, I mean, heck, I might start doing that honestly now that I bring it up, just because I've noticed that like a lot of these mechanics kind of
would encourage you to be close.
Sometimes, yeah, they actually they fool casters, and it seems like the melee have a slight bit easier time of dodging slightly, like instead of abilities hitting from like super far out, like long range abilities, they're in that weird area. They're like right in the middle where it's like it's not too close, but it's not way out there, but you need to be like still, you need to be able to breathe on the boss a little bit,
Oh yeah. That's interesting because like I guess in the past it's always been like casters in range have always had the to be fortunate to be away from the boss and actually like not have to worry about dodge mechanics as much. So maybe they're balancing that out now.
Well, it seems like our arenas are a lot more tight, like they used to be, like way back in the day. Because I started noticing, I play with my camera zoomed out, like maxed all the way out.
Okay.
And what I noticed is that I can't see a whole lot as far as like the whole room is concerned, as opposed to, I remember during like Alexander and a little bit of Stormblood, the arenas were pretty massive, like huge, as far as like your space and everything, like fighting bosses. But I've noticed that the arenas have gotten like, they're tight back to like first coil, no, not first coil, more like second coil kind of days. On some fights, yeah. So it's, I don't know.
Yeah, a little more confined.
It's definitely interesting. I like it. I like the tightness because it's like I can't just be 80 years away from the boss and not have to handle mechanics. It's like, if I'm 80 years away, we might have a stack mechanic right up under him and I might die.
Yeah. Because like, if I remember correctly, like The fight with Alexander, the last fight in turn 3 of Alexander, and then not turn 3, turn 4. That was a huge arena.
Yeah.
Like it was pretty massive. And then also the one with Midas, the last fight in Midas against that the Voltron boss.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a square arena, in the levels of the paths could change.
Right.
That one was it was square, but that one was also pretty huge too.
Yep.
Cause like you had the two ads you were separated, one on one end and one on the other end.
Right.
So like that's something I never thought about, but that is a good point. That the arenas are way more. I feel like there's just a lot of intent.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of purpose.
It's very calculated.
Mm-hmm.
Because
tanking is back too. Bro, tanking looks so fun again. It's like, because I'm seeing tanks not only do dungeons, but I took some sneak peeks at like some EX Primal stuff like that. Tank swaps are back.
Really?
Yeah, tank swaps and ads are like back in fights again. It is beautiful. I saw somebody do that one chick. Yeah, her, and then the other one. Mm-hmm. And there's ads. Like the off tank has to get the ads. There's tank swaps. It's like you can't get like 2 stacks of lightning or else you'll like die or whatever. And it's tanking is important again. Like you can't just be an idiot in tank. You have to actually be good again.
Are you like, is this like creating an itch for you?
An itch for tanking?
Or is Black Mage just too good?
I think the DPS are just too good. I think just DPSing is just too good right now.
Yeah.
I think tanking, it's like they gutted their damage, by the way.
What? Is Warrior like a big one?
No, for every single tank.
Mm-hmm.
Every single, like, tanks don't even do much damage anymore, and neither do healers. They got straight up gutted. Because I saw Xenos. I was watching him do like progression run and then actually like his clear runs.
Yeah.
And he had ACT up, and I was seeing his ACT like normally, like past expansions. This dude was like number 3 or number 4, top 3 in like DPS on his warrior. But it's like all the DPS, then him, then the other tank, then the healers. And he's behind the DPS by like 2,000. And they're like just messing around.
What's like his the average of his DPS? Like what is he like capping at? Do you remember?
I think I remember something like 7 or 8K, something like that.
7 or 8K.
And I think the other the main DPS were all rocking like 10, 11, 12K. Stuff like that. And then it's interesting, the chart that my FC posted, it had tanks right about at 6K as far as like average DPS. So
for this expansion or for last expansion?
For this expansion.
Yeah, okay.
So it's like, tanks got they don't really do, I mean, they do damage, but it looks like it's just damage they do naturally now. Mm-hmm. Not like for, DPSing purposes or whatever.
Doesn't look like there's anything that they can manipulate to increase the DPS. That's from what you're saying, I guess.
Right. And I mean, I'm sure they probably can, but from the way these fights are looking, like already kind of at this point, it looks like tanking is no longer so boring to where you have to focus on DPS to make it entertaining. Because the problem I noticed was like, well, man, if there's no tank swaps and there's no, provoking
no
or any of that, it's like, well, what's the next thing tanks have to worry about? Well, I guess cooldown management, but that's kind of a given. So it's like, okay, now they just go to the next thing, which is maximizing damage. But I think now there's too many mechanics to focus so much on damage because you will just die.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting because I've been I've been loving Gunbreaker.
It looks lit. I'm not gonna lie.
I've done some dungeons with it, but of course, like full toolkit at my level is just not there. But in like Palace of the Dead, since you're set to 70,
Okay.
that seems to be where it's like, okay, this is where the job is truly shows its potential. The ability continuation, it may not, from what you're saying about the DPS and like how tanks are not dishing out as much.
Right.
Well, Gunbreaker's hiding it so well that you don't even realize that then, because it feels like you're doing a lot, even if you're not. Like the engagement you're getting with the rotation is like it feels really satisfying to execute abilities.
Right.
So you have your cartridges, 2 stacks of cartridges, and those let you expend different abilities within your toolkit. And there's Gnawing Fang, if I remember correctly. That's one ability that starts off your side DPS combo, and it goes Gnashing Fang, and then it opens up like a branching path of abilities that you can use.
Okay.
And on the surface, it's a 1-2-3 combo. But when you get level 70 in this new ability called Continuation, it turns that 1-2-3 combo into a not exactly a 6 combo extender, but each of those individual skills gets another ability that you can use instantly. So it's almost like you're creating your own procs. So you go Gnashing Fang into the next line of the combo, and then it procs its extra ability, and then you free DPS expenditure. Then you go into the next one in the combo, then its procs comes up, and then the next one, and its procs comes up. It's just a nice little burst window, all of a sudden, and like you feel like you're doing a lot in this, and it just flows. So it gives the tanks, at least for Gunbreaker, it feels like it has a lot of things to do, and like you can like map out your flow and how you want to line up your buffs and stuff. Okay. And that's where I'm getting the satisfaction, because I'm pushing a lot of buttons, and it reminds me what I was doing with Monk. And I think that's where I'm getting high from it.
So it has the speed you were looking for. Because I remember you said, I think right before the expansion dropped, you were hoping Gunbreaker kind of had like some weaving, some button mashing, just kind of like you did with Monk, that was active,
No, yeah, the engagement is there, and that's something that I like a lot. And it feels satisfying. So that's where I'm looking forward to what 70 to 80 looks like, because it seems like it only like gets bigger from there, and also the mitigation's not too bad either.
I saw some tanks do like some pulls that I would never try on a paladin, especially like if the expansion just dropped. I would never try these pulls. I've seen some Gunbreakers do some disgusting pulls.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't be like, where a tank would be like, okay, one pack and the next pack, and it's like, okay, that's a nice little pull, bro. Okay, I see what you're doing. But I've seen some Gunbreakers go 1, 2, 3, 4 and just take it all.
Yes.
And I was just like, yo, this man is tripping. He's gonna die. But I've seen a couple of them do that. Not very many. I guess because I'm not sure how their cooldowns work or anything like that, but it looks like the class can kind of hold its own as far as mitigation is concerned. So I think that's what's up. I think that's really cool.
What level were you watching them do some of those pulls then?
I think
were
that
they
was
in
like
70 to 80?
Yeah, that was about level 76, I want to say.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's really impressive. Because like I've done some level 60 dungeons where I've got away with that.
Okay.
So like I know that's like, that could be kind of skewed because I'm a little bit above level from what is recommended, and like I do have like max level 60 gear at least, so I'm not sure how much it scales down, but Yeah, I was doing those, stupid pulls. Like, let me just go. But the AOE damage is like really good on Gunbreaker. At least it feels really good.
Okay.
And so like it's not a big combo. It's just 2 skills. It's I think it's Demon Slice and then Demon Slaughter. They combo into each other, and then you get a cartridge each time you do that 2-step combo. And that cartridge lets you expend one of your off level cooldowns for just some free DPS. And so you're basically just doing 1 2 1 2, and then you're just dropping these cartridges left and right, boom 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 boom, and just like watch the HP melt on some of these mobs. And so it's like, and then you also have that regen ability. That's really good. And then you can also pop in that shield as well when you're under. Woo. You have that, and then you have also the magic. It's a magic resistant buff for the whole party.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's like 15% for the whole party.
15%?
Yeah, it's like
wow.
stupid.
That's dumb. That's crazy. How long does it last? Probably like what, 8 seconds?
Yeah, it's not that. It maybe 10 seconds, I think.
Okay, so
look at it.
I think that's similar to Warrior's version of Shake It Off. Warrior Shake It Off, and then I think Paladin has what is that ability called? It's something they put in during Heaven's Word. I can't remember. Basically, like if you get healed, it puts a shield on everybody. Not Clemency. It's the other one.
Oh wait, Sheltron?
No, it's like you pop it. If you get healed, then it puts a shield on you and everybody. It's like a little buff that pops up in the party bar.
I'm not well versed in how enough, I guess.
Can't remember what it's called, but people that play Paladin, they'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So
you guys can fill us in.
Yeah, they'll fill in details. All right, so let me ask you this one then. All right. So we've kind of seen some classes we've run it with. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. So from each role, tank, DPS, and healer, what classes are you like peeking over your shoulder looking at like, oh, that looks kind of cool over there. I wonder what they doing over there. You know, what classes are you like, have you been peeping a little bit on and saying, oh, once I get to 80, I might mess around with this stuff a little bit.
Something. Well, okay. Well, for ranged, at least ranged physical, it's definitely the answer.
Okay.
I'm curious because like that's a class. It's like something that I've never. It's a type of DPS I've never been one to gravitate towards. You know, the support class. You know, I've always, it just happened naturally. I've always been the one dealing damage. You know,
I see.
It's always been about just damage, whether it be monk or black mage. You know, those two have been out of the DPS ones I just gravitated towards, just because I like those classes thematically within the whole legacy of Final Fantasy in general. They've just been my favorite classes. So I like those because I'm most familiar with them, just as they are as a theme in the history of the series. And then so like Dancer is different because like, okay, it's not all about damage, it's about helping other people with that damage.
Okay. And
it's a breath of fresh air, and something that I probably can like use, because I'll tell you right now, like being a DPS sometimes it can be stressful.
Right.
Like the need to perform, you know. Now some people may not even care and just go into fights and just like do stuff, but it's like when you get to a certain mindset, sometimes you want to just like, I want to do good, and even if it's not for anyone else, just for yourself. And like you just naturally like want to compete with the other DPS around you. It's like, okay, if I didn't out DPS them, and then it's like, okay, I failed at my job, you know. Like that could be a little bit too harsh to think about that way, but that's what I do to myself sometimes. It's like, okay, if I got out DPS, that means I did something wrong. You know, let's tweak some things. And so let's get out of the driver's seat and more into the passenger seat. and we're not even going to be riding shotgun. We're going to go way back into the trunk and just lounge out and just be a support role, and we'll see how Dancer feels. And I think that'll be just something a little bit more calming, soothing, different mindset to be in, and then be nice to just bolster other people up for a change. Right. Giving back type of thing. So definitely Dancer is probably the one I'm probably gonna level up after Monk and Gunbreaker. And for the casters, well, from what you said about Black Mage, it's definitely Black Mage.
Okay.
Black Mage is probably gonna be the one that I was gonna do regardless because it's already the highest one up. But you pretty much like solidified it. It's like, okay, Black Mage hasn't gotten too crazy as far as like its departure from things, and it seems pretty it feels right at home from its previous iterations.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely like, okay, it seems like they gave him some like special sauce on Black Mage, and like it's really put the icing on the cake. So like, okay, this is exciting. That definitely fascinates me a bit. For tanks though, other than Gunbreaker, okay, Dark Knight.
Okay.
I do want to try out Dark Knight, and I do have that one at 70 because that was my main secondary job, as far as Heaven's Ward and Stormblood, and I was never in the trenches of tank life to really understand what people didn't like about Dark Knight. Like I know they didn't like how you use dark arts, and like you were using it way too often, and it just felt unnatural to use, and it just felt tedious, I guess, to some people. Me personally, I was kind of fine with that.
Yeah.
But from what I hear, they kind of like streamline dark arts in a little bit better into its toolkit.
Okay.
To where the payoff is a little bit better, and like you're doing things a little bit more naturally to get your damage, and like the skill where like you bring up the ghost.
Yeah, the little
Fred,
shadow clone thing.
Yeah, that looks sick. Like, okay, I gotta unlock that ability. I want to see like how that functions. It's like, can you manipulate that in any way, or is it like just set combo that it does all the time? Because like, if there's like some room for like, you can control the combo that it does, I feel like that you can give some real freedom with some real creative people with it.
Right.
So that one's probably like the one I'm looking forward to next. So yeah, after Monk and Gunbreaker, it's probably going to be Dancer, then Dark Knight, then Black Mage. And I'm sorry, healers, I'm not gonna heal.
Dang.
I ain't gonna
heal the people. Dang.
No, I mean, if I do anything, it'd probably be White Mage. But I don't know. I'm just not. I tried healing. I got White Mage up to 60, but healing's just not for me, man. I don't know what it is.
All right. Well, he doesn't want to heal the people. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong. All right. I'll give you mine. So, I'm peaking at Dancer. I have mixed feelings about Dancer.
I know.
I think as far as support is concerned, I think it's very weak. I think it's a very, very, very weak iteration of a support, like a soul support class. Yeah, it's very weak in the support aspect, and I mean that in the sense of I'm comparing it to like other games where when you play the support role, it's not just about buffing. Because the support role is supposed to be like, you're supposed to do like some weird stuff. Like really, really weird things. Because if I'm thinking about it, like, I'm thinking about like, so when I play League, if I play League of Legends or whatever, I'm a support main. Like, I'm main support. I don't play anything. I play support, and then I might dabble in jungle, but I mainly play support. So like, when I play video games, and MMOs in particular, I'm always looking at support roles. I hate being up front. I hate it. I think it's really boring and lame. I just do it in 14 because there is no support roles in this game. Not really.
That's what I was going to say. Like, So, is it fair to compare Dancer to the other games? Just because, like, obviously 14's not tooled that way. You know what I mean? So it's like
I think it is.
um,
I'm gonna compare it just because there are games that do it that have done it in more interesting ways that are like 20 years older than 14. So I'm gonna dock them some points on that because just out of sheer. Now, is it a bad class? No, but I feel like the stuff that it does support wise, it's just damage. It doesn't do anything else that's like cool. Like I was expecting like some. Give me something weird, man. Something that like.
well, do you think that's a problem on Square's part, or is it a problem on the player base's fault?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily a problem. I think it's the fact that like, don't get me wrong. I'm not expecting them to do all this crazy stuff out the gate, off the jump, right? I'm just putting it out there. If I compare it to a bunch of other games support classes, I think that skills-wise and abilities-wise, it's not that interesting of a support class.
I guess
I feel like it'd be more interesting if it was more of a off heals and DPS and buffs type feel. I think that would be much more interesting. To where you can actually have a dancer. Like, I think dancer would be a lot cooler if it had healing abilities and it allowed you to have like. Well, no, I mean healing abilities where you like don't even have a second healer in an 8-man party.
Well, okay, then I think that's where it comes down to a fundamental problem of just having a trinity of tank, DPS, healer.
Well,
and 14's really strict and conservative with their roles as far as what role is supposed to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that's why they haven't done anything like that. Because I mean, if you remember back in ARR, hey, you could even have a summoner heal the party. You know,
a little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
You know, like, but we had abilities like that, and Red Mage is kind of doing that.
That's my issue because Red Mage is that. It's just focused on DPS, so I know they can do it. Because Red Mages, if 7 people in your party die, you can res like 4 or 5 of them, like that. It's super quick, so it's just like, I mean, if you can put something like that in the game, then I'm expecting Dancer to be like kind of just
equal to that too.
Maybe not necessarily equal to that, but as far as like it should be super interesting as far as like your composition is concerned.
That now Red Mage is an interesting one because it has history in Final Fantasy as a whole to be the jack of all trades type of job.
Right.
So thematically, it's a job that has black magic, has white magic, and it can do damage in the games that it's featured in. And so something like that translated to 14 is like, because that was like the whole conversation when like people were talking about how would Red Mage get implemented. It's like, wow, would it be our first, all Trinity, all role job? A job that can switch between tank, healer, or DPS, or would they just stick it in as healer because its heals are just so good? But that would do it in Injustice. So would just doing it as a DPS, it left a lot of questions for people when the speculation was starting around, because they knew if they implemented it how it was intact from the other games, it'd be broken. Like, you could just, okay, let's just do Red Mage parties, and not worry about it because it can do everything. And so that the way that they translated it into 14, I feel like it works really well. They found a way to keep the identity of the job of being sort of like the jack of all trades minus tanking, but it can do damage and it can support the party and heal.
Right.
Now,
it has a focus on
only the fact damage first.
Right.
Yeah, without a doubt, it's still damage focused. But I think that only was able to happen because of the ground roots that it comes from. And so I think if you were going to look for a job for 14 to mess with to give you that same support potential, theoretically it could be dancer.
I don't even think they even care about that stuff. They obviously don't, because like every single class is nothing. I mean, they like are similar to how they are in older games, but like most of them are like just way different from how they are in other games. So I don't think they really even, I mean, they care to an extent.
Which ones are you thinking of?
All of them. I'm thinking of like whenever I play like Tactics or like 10, like these jobs are, I mean, they're surface level at best in comparison to like how deep these jobs go in games before.
Well, I wouldn't say 10 is a good example because the roles are kind of ambiguous.
I don't know, man. Like, okay, maybe in 10, but like Tactics, but and I've seen gameplay of other Final Fantasy games to know that like I know black mages can cast wind magic. I know they can cast all kinds of magic. But in this game, they just mostly have a focus on fire and ice, which is fine. It's all good. But like, I mean, we don't have any gravity spells or any interesting stuff like that. So it's like, they don't care like that much. As far as like,
well, I think it comes down to a thing of style over function. How would they? I guess they don't know how they would implement a gravity spell like Demi, because those type of spells they're like, you know, percentage based. You know, so like it takes so much off the boss, like 1/4 the damage is like depleted from the boss or something like that. When it comes to those, so like, well, we all know
we don't have protect. We never had shell, so it's protect. Like, yeah, RIP protect, because when we start dungeons we just go.
That's so weird. I had someone have an email. This. It got me. It's like, basically like, I can't even get it out. It was just so funny. Basically, it's on along the lines of RIP protect. Let's throw out a fake one for our dead homie.
Oh, jeez.
For all time's sake, let's just stay here for 10 seconds.
Right. But yeah, we don't have protect anymore. We've never had the ability shell to block magic damage, because I know that's how that works in other Final Fantasy games. And it's just like those things that would be, you know, so core to a job. It's like they don't really care that much. Not really. And I don't think it really even matters, because it's just gameplay.
No,
so, you know, I mean,
so they're being faithful in other areas, and I guess they are taking liberties as far as how they implement the jobs.
Definitely, like strong liberties.
Because I mean, when I look at Black Mage, that's definitely a Black Mage. You know, I don't mistake it for anything else.
Well, of course, yeah.
You know, same with Hmong, Ninja. Dragoon is like probably like one of the most faithful jobs there. And then I would want to say White Mage, but yeah, they got rid of Protect and they never found a way to implement Shell. And I wish they brought back Stone Skin. Do you know there are NPCs that still have Stone Skin?
I've seen them cast that shit. I'm like, well, what class are you, bro? You got Stone Skin? What's going on?
So I've been seeing a lot of retired skills being shown up in the trust system. So like Yonjay, one of the characters, he's an Astro. He still has balance, he still has boil, he has the spear, he has all that. He's still rocking Stormblood Astro. Yeah. So that, that cracked me up a little bit. Like this is like, well, balance is dead. It's like apparently not. Every now and then
I think they still have balance. It's just like I think all the cards like the cards still exist. Some of them don't, but for the majority, all the cards still exist. I think their effects have just been like the numbers wise, they've changed a lot. As far as like, and then their effects as far as what they do have changed slightly. So it's still...
Well, they may be all in name, but they don't have the same execution, though.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they don't do the exact same... I mean, they do... Some of them do, some of them don't. And then the math behind the potencies has changed a lot. Like dramatically changed. But it kind of takes away... Astro doesn't have that mini game anymore, where it's like you have to think about what cards you're gonna throw on somebody. It kind of doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of mindless.
Yeah, you just kind of, if you get a card, just throw it. Don't matter who you throw it on. Just throw it on somebody. Get it out of your way. Draw another card. Heal some people. It's pretty easy now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't speak on the matter since I know I'll never, play Astro or anything, but I hope we're enjoying it. I mean, I'm sure Astro's still pretty lit. I mean, Astro's the best healer they ever put in the game. Like, the second best healer is Scholar, and then White Mage is just like, you play White Mage if you're bored, bro. Like, if you just bored... Is it Scholar anymore?
Is it? Scholar, it's just better because it's more interesting. Like,
really, that's not what I've been hearing from other people. They feel like they want their skills back. They want Astro. They want the. This is not my Scholar,
Oh well, no, I mean like just as far as like
You talking about in general in its overall history.
In comparison to all three of them, like White Mage is like how Paladin used to be. White Mage has just never gotten past that point of like just being a really, really boring healing class. It's never not been that. It's always been that. Scholar has always been really, really interesting. And then ever since Astro came out, Astro is the most interesting, most diverse like healer we have ever seen ever.
Yeah.
Some would argue that Scholar is more interesting, but generally speaking, because Astro has the RNG with the cards, it kind of trumps Scholar as far as like it's
it has a little mini game.
Exactly. Now as far as like how it plays right now, the only healer that looks fun to me is Astro. All the other healers just kind of like whatever. I mean, And then tanks. I'm curious to see what Paladin brings to the table. And I like Gunbreaker from what I've seen, but I'm curious because nobody's playing Paladin. So, I mean, people are playing it, but I don't see it a whole lot. So I'm curious to see, like, to kind of peek over the fence, see what Paladin's got going on, because maybe some people are asleep on it and they just don't know it might be lit.
Like, from what I remember hearing about the tooltips, Paladin really didn't change that much at all.
Really?
Like, it just got more stuff. So like, as far as like it being fundamentally different from what it was in Stormblood, when it was at, you would say, at its peak, it doesn't seem like anything would have disrupted that so much to where it wouldn't be dethroned. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
It seems like it just seems like it's just okay. It not to say it's exactly like Black Mage, but it got the update treatment to where it's like, it doesn't mess up too much.
Okay.
At least that's from what I heard from people. But
so I guess they played it safe with Paladin.
Yeah, pretty safe. That they finally gave it its own gap closer.
Yeah,
people have been asking.
I saw that. It was pretty cool, actually. I like the gap closing thing.
But as far as like seeing them in dungeons and stuff, I haven't seen that many. I see mostly warriors.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen that many Dark Knights I mean, I've seen them in the overworld, but I haven't seen them to play with them though.
I've mostly ran with Dark Knights and Gunbreakers.
Mhm.
I haven't ran with like nearly almost zero paladins almost. I've seen a couple warriors, but mostly Gunbreakers and Dark Knights.
Because like, yo, when you were talking about like Gunbreaker doing some stupid pulls,
Yeah.
warrior, I had this one warrior. We were going through the dungeon, the second dungeon, you know, the underwater one,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
the frogs.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, this one was like, all right, get on my back, I'm gonna cure you all. He legit pulled from the starting room of the dungeon all the way down to the boss room, and we just boom went ham and just like, no, I don't know, you must be a madman for like taking like basically like 4 packs of mobs right now. But the dude was good. So I'm like, okay, maybe I thought that warrior would have been like a little bit more neutered because it doesn't have his HP mitigation like it used to. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like they balanced it out with giving it a little bit more, I guess, defense than what it normally would have.
Right.
So who knows? Warrior may be looking pretty good too. Just from like the little experience that I've seen, and that was also with the party with the dancer that I had as well.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, maybe I just got lucky. You know, maybe we had the right type of healer to keep up with this type of tank style, but this warrior wasn't giving two shits about anything. He just was just going ham, going in it. And I wish I knew more about warrior to really like break down and assess what was actually going down, but it almost feel like impossible, but he was able to pull it off. And he did that to the whole dungeon. That was like the fastest run I did in that dungeon. It was like a 17-minute run. Super quick.
Well, it's interesting, like from the bit of tanking I did with warrior, like at the end of like Stormblood, warrior was kind of like, actually no, that was the beginning of Stormblood, I think. When I did. No, this was like the beginning of Stormblood.
That was towards the end.
It was like the middle-ish. It's like it wasn't so much the end. It was more so like the middle, I guess, of Stormblood. Because then I dipped in the game.
Okay, so yeah, it was okay. So it was the last class that you messed with though before you left.
Roughly. But yeah, I mean, warrior. It can even back then it could take a lot of damage, and you could do some crazy dumb pulls if you wanted to. And because from what I recall, if you were smart, it has a lot of self-healing, like really big self-healing.
That's why I'm not surprised that it could do that in Stormblood.
Yeah,
because I knew it had those type of healing skills. Well, yeah, warrior can just. That's why you have those, you know, those solo clears of Titan Extreme with warrior.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they have that type of sustain and mitigation on themselves with healing.
Right.
But I know a lot of that stuff is gone now, so that's why I was like so taken back by it, that he was still able to obtain those type of feats without the heal mitigation that they used to have. You know what I mean?
Well, they had the healing, but it has a lot of mitigation. It's just like you don't know until you play it, because some skills are a little they're a bit weird. Like I think there was a skill that was like it mitigated a lot of damage, but only from the front. Like if you get hit in the back, you're gonna get crit and you're probably gonna get killed. But it was like a really weird skill, and then it has like some other stuff where like also the cooldowns are really short. They're like very, very short. So like what you would do is that you would
Oh yeah, home gang, you mean?
No, well, home gang is short, but I mean all the other cooldowns, as far as defensive cooldowns,
shorter.
They're super. Like in comparison to Paladin, they're super short. So what you would do is that you would take the damage up to like maybe a quarter HP. So like you would lose a quarter HP and not pop anything. And then you pop stuff right when you get in between like 3/4 and like half life, and then the heals start coming, and then at that point you can just space them out like really, really insanely, kind of, sort of.
Mhm.
And the ones you started with would be back up for your next pull, or like they'd be back up for the last bit of the pull. So it'd be like you have the mitigation of a paladin. It's just you have to space out your cooldowns just really, really like a lot smart. It takes a lot more brain power to space out your cooldowns than it does on paladin, I feel.
Okay.
And then Dark Knight is just like, Dark Knight's weird. It's like
the awkward middle child.
Yeah, like Dark Knight's not bad at mitigation. It's just like, when I played Dark Knight, I felt squishier than I did when I played Warrior. And then whenever I healed, I always had a harder time healing Dark Knights than I did Paladins or Warriors. I don't know. I don't know if it's like that now, because I don't know if what they changed and got rid of or whatever, but it's always been weird as far as mitigation is concerned.
From my dabbles with Dark Knight, with my experience with it, Darkest Night has been, maybe because I just know how to use it, but I've never been worried about dying per se, or being well mitigated, because like that's just basically like as long as you have the MP for it, that was the skill that you use to just take all the hits and damage that you would come out to you. And it maybe made Dark Knight a bit simple, because it they don't have as many off-global cooldowns as the other jobs,
right?
The tank jobs, but Darkest Night is just so strong. It basically negates all damage almost to an extent. How it works, because like you pop it, it's basically a stone skin. How strong it is, and now it's limited to like how much MP you have at the time. And now if you don't have any MP to pop it, then okay, yeah, you're kind of boned if you don't have any other cooldowns. But so I don't know. It's weird. It's kind of like that glass cannon, but it has that glass case protector on it though.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's weird, but yeah.
Like in dungeons, it felt fine. It was like,
but
in raiding, it felt scary whenever I raided with it, man. Because it was like all my mana back in Heaven's Ward. I didn't play it during Stormblood, but like in Heaven's Ward, all your mana was like a resource that you had to like blow constantly. Like you didn't really want to be sitting at like a lot of mana, so like I couldn't even really.
Well, then if you've only really played it in Heaven's Ward, then I'll tell you right now that mana hasn't been an issue since then.
Oh, so they got rid of that. Okay.
I mean, yeah, you have mana to as your resource, but you have a whole lot more tools to get it back. So that's why I was like talking about like this night. You're able to use it a lot. It may be only one cooldown, but you're using that cooldown quite often. Or it's readily available quite often. So I don't think it's bad as what you might think, because they kind of alleviated that problem. Dark Knight's problem's been like it's not specializing in any one area. So that one tool is good for itself. It's very selfish. I think that's the thing with Dark Knight. It's a very selfish tank, and it doesn't have a lot of things to support the party itself.
Right.
So that's its biggest problem. So yeah, it's a great dungeon tank, dungeon run tank, because it has a lot of AoE abilities that can like heal its HPs. It does really well with trash mobs. Pop Darkest Night amongst a trash mob, you gain a ton of your what's it called? It's a special gauge for Dark Knight. That bar, and you can use it to expend all these other skills, and these other skills will do damage, but also give you back MP, and then do damage and also give you back a bunch of health. So it has a lot of good mitigation and self-sustain in large trash mob pools. So that's where like it really shines. You can see like, wow, this is really good. It has great mitigation. The healer doesn't have to worry about anything, but I can see how that may not translate as well in a raid environment because it's not often where you see a lot of trash mobs in a raid, you know?
Yeah, it just doesn't
to benefit from that type of stuff. So
and
it's mitigation.
How
just
often
get
you
nerfed.
deal with ads is just like,
Yeah.
and even if there are ads, like they don't happen very often. Like it's just it's not you can't really rely on having ads and having stuff die for you to get that, you know.
Yeah, to get that stuff back.
Yeah.
So no, yeah. So yeah.
It's
Dark Knight will be interesting to see how it evolves.
It's weird because it's like I'm reading their skills that they got currently, and it's Dark Knight is still in that. Like, I think it's fine as far as its legitimacy and tanking. I think that's fine, but
Yeah.
I think it's still in the middle where it's like it doesn't. I feel like it doesn't just blow past all the tanks in damage, but it doesn't blow past all the tanks in mitigation either. It's like just in the it's in between paladin and warrior. And now, I guess since this expansion's out now, those lines are blurred even more so because it looks like they've kind of.
We got another tank.
Yeah, we got another tank, and they all just about do the same shit. Like they just all mitigate. They all do damage, and the damage is roughly the same across the board, kind of, sort of. No, I mean, maybe that'll change whenever we start raids and like
Get some materia, see what,
see,
start,
because
get some builds and whatnot.
some classes get weird whenever you add certain amounts of stats to them. So maybe, I don't know, maybe Gunbreaker is the one that takes off with direct hit or crit or whatever. I mean, I doubt it.
Or get skill speed for Gunbreaker. Been here.
Is skill speed gonna... See, I feel like skill speed would be like a little problematic because it's like, granted, your skills are coming out faster, but that doesn't necessarily increase your... Well, that doesn't necessarily increase your damage, though. I mean, it helps you sustain your damage more, but unless those skills are coming out like tremendously faster, you're not really going to be doing that much more damage if your potencies don't really change, you know what I mean? It's I don't know, like...
I mean, and not saying to go strictly skill speed, but some people are thinking more like basically skill speed just complements something else as well.
Well, see, that's probably not even going to be enough. I was talking with Shin about this the other day, and I was explaining to him how he was saying like, oh yeah, we just need to just, you know, if we just dump crit on it, you know, you should be able to get a lot of damage out of it, and that's how it worked back in A Realm Reborn. But with each expansion, as we increase in level, it takes like a fuck ton of stats to actually like see a difference in your damage. Like, 'cause I remember during Stormblood when I was playing Bard,
to get past certain thresholds that you were talking about,
I had to get like 70, 60 points of crit in order to see a 3% difference. And I mean 3% like literally, like I actually ran the numbers on ACT and I was like, okay, I'm critting 3% more, but it took 60 more crit to so it's like there. Now that we're level 80, it's just like, oh crap, I'm gonna need like 120, 150 crit to actually like see a massive difference, because 3% is like teeny weeny. It's not really that big. So, and then it just looks like they really balanced all the DPS. They just balanced them really well. It doesn't seem like they just one particular melee shits on another or one caster shits on another. Granted, I have no idea about Red Mage. I don't know. Red Mage looking a little sketch because I haven't seen nobody play it, and like the Red Mages
I've some Red Mages run with me, but nothing I can say like, oh, anything's different. But
yeah,
I've had some.
Summoner's looking lit. Black Mage is lit. I don't know about that Red Mage. Summoner's really good. They're really strong right now.
So I wonder how that's gonna like look in the landscape of like rating and stuff. So if everyone's equal as far as damage output, that's just going to put more of a significance on the support that they can do as well.
I mean, it's interesting. It's like
I mean, it sounds like Dragoon's still going to be good. Like always.
Yeah.
Always in that meta, you know?
I mean,
Dragoon,
I think it's kind of be like what your party like wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have like, it may be more about the player that's playing rather than what class is being played.
Which is good, because like that's what it should be about.
Yeah. So let's say, for instance, you have a player who is, you know, every single pull, they're always top 90th percentile as far as FF logs is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, you know what? One of you guys needs to go dancer. That way you can buff him and, you know, you bump up his numbers. That'll actually put less stress on the party. It's because that's one less person you have to worry about focusing on damage, and they can focus a bit more on mechanics and like living.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like equivalent to, if I were to compare it to something, it'd be like 7-manning a fight and then dumping all the buffs on one person.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you have less people to like screw up, kind of, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. It's really weird and interesting, but I don't know. We'll kind of see how it goes, I guess.
Yeah. Because that's the concept sounds weird to me. If all the DPS are doing the same, when like you have jobs like Samurai, who's supposed to be the selfish DPS who sacrifices support for just raw damage.
Right.
And if everyone's going to be roughly doing the same amount of damage, then where's that job identity? You know?
I think it's just in the player that wants to play it. Because it's like, I mean, because Samurai didn't get jack.
No, it's pretty much the same.
Not to meme on Samurai Jack, but I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, Samurai didn't get really much, not a whole lot of stuff. And so I'm
relatively
like,
unchanged.
I'm kind of glancing at everybody else's potencies, and I'm like, well, holy crap, these potencies on these other classes are really high.
Mm-hmm.
They remind me of how when Samurai first came out in Stormblood, I was like, yo, Samurai's potencies are crazy. But now everybody's potencies look super crazy to me.
So that also makes me think like, well, stuff like, you know, Battle Litany or Trick Attack would be even more important. You know what I mean?
Important, but I don't think necessarily. Like, I think if your group wants to do those things, then yeah, sure, go for it. But from the way it seems, it doesn't seem like you're forced to have those things anymore in order to succeed. Now, maybe if you're going for world first clears or whatever, yeah, sure, do whatever you need to do, but Battle Litany and Trick Attack is not going to really make or break your raid group anymore, it seems.
Well, I think that's never been an issue even before.
Oh no,
I guess when I was talking about
it has.
No, you could still run stuff even if you weren't going for like, you know, speed runs or anything
dog,
like that.
You couldn't, bro. What I mean by that is like, when you run stuff, like as far as like raids and stuff like that, when they first come out and you go in there, if you don't, because you're basically going in under geared.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're under geared and you don't have like Battle Litany and Trick Attack and like all this stuff, it almost sometimes becomes mathematically impossible for you to actually win, no matter how good you are at mechanics. Like at a certain point, because it usually happens around the second fight where the math catches up with you and it's actually impossible to win. I know that sounds really weird, but I've seen it happen to so many groups so many times. Because they'll just be having fun playing whatever class they want, and the boss enrages at 10% even though nobody died and everybody's doing like maybe not stellar DPS, but they're doing like average DPS that a normal group would do, but a lot less because of they don't have battle litany, they don't have trick attack, they don't have all this extra stuff, they're not popping food. Like, that's why that stuff exists, because like people know that if you don't have those things, you're gonna wipe at like 5% over and over and over because you're going in under geared. Yeah.
So you're basically thinking that there won't be no waiting period before people can start doing whatever class they want.
Yeah, I think this is the expansion where like you can play literally whatever you want, bro. I mean,
from the beginning.
Yeah, off jump. I mean, unless you're trying to do like, if you're trying to go for world first, you have to play certain things. But if you're just trying to just raid day one and not wipe at 5% because of battle litany or whatever in your opener or whatever, I don't think that's gonna kill you anymore. I think it's just be more so like mechanics, from what it seems, because everybody's damage is there. Like, everybody's damage seems not necessarily even across the board, but everybody's bringing it as far as general numbers are concerned. Now, I could be wrong. I could be, that may not translate in the raids. The raids might say something else. They might say, well, nah, bro, y'all's damage sucks, so nobody's getting past the first fight. We might have another Faust situation. So I don't know until they come out, but
Faust the gatekeeper.
Going off,
you must be this tall to ride this ride.
Yeah, dog. But going off of like the EX primals that I've seen, and then the way these mechanics are in dungeons, the game has gotten more mechanic heavy than like it used to be in the past. So it's gonna be more so about like how good are you at doing the dance while doing the damage, as opposed to how much damage can you do and you don't really need to dance that much. Yeah.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. See how this all plays out. Did we get all of the ones that you were interested in?
Yeah, I kind of snuck them in there. I mean, it's Gunbreaker, Paladin a little bit, DPS, it's Dancer. I'm still interested in Dancer. I just think it's not weird enough for me personally to be like, because true support, I'm thinking like
it's a different play style from what you want.
Yeah, I'm thinking of something more weird. You ever played the Disgaea games before?
No.
So I think there's a class in Disgaea.
That's interesting to come from you. I wouldn't expect you to do a strategy RPG.
Yeah,
strategy RPG.
I didn't want to. I did it for the stream one time. I mean, but I played it and I actually found out I enjoyed it. So it was pretty cool. It was a cool experience.
Okay.
But there's a class in there. I think it's called it's like an alchemist or something. And it has potions that buff like your party in really weird ways. So like one potion, you throw it on somebody, it makes them huge. So it increases their health and then increases how much damage they do for like a certain duration of time. I'm like, okay, this is weird and quirky. Like, so stuff like that, stuff that I can't just pick another class and do that, because Dancer, I feel like it does a little bit of some of the same stuff we've seen with whatchamacallit? What's the healer class?
What, Astro?
Yes, it does it has some similarities with Astro as far as like what it brings to the table support wise, just without the healing. So I wanted it to be more just way off the deep end, something it's just its own thing. It's not similar to anything else in the game. That's kind of what I was looking for with support classes more so. But I think they're gonna get there because Dancer, the way it looks, the fact that they're even messing around with it and put it in the game, I'm like, okay, they're gonna get there eventually.
Okay.
So I'm here for it. That's all. Healer, still Astro. White Mage is still whack. Scholar.
Rip.
I don't know. It's weird. I kind of like Scholar when it's weak. Because I think when classes are weak, it kind of lets the real ones kind of shine a bit more. Like the real Scholar players, because they will. Because I remember back in the day when Astro first came out, people started raiding with it. Everybody's like, Astro's trash. And then it's just because most people didn't really understand the class that well. But the people that understood the class, they were freaking amazing. Like Astro used to be like stupid busted back when everybody said it sucked. So a Scholar might be in that same boat where it's like maybe people just aren't really understanding it because I mean most people suck at the game anyway, so you know what I'm saying. So it's like that ain't changed. Okay. How do you feel about bunny girls? What do you think about that VR race? And then the Thundercats. What do you think about them?
The bunny girls and the Thundercats. Yeah, they cool.
They cool.
Yeah, they cool. I don't know. It's weird. I mean, I see a lot of them. Everyone basically. I know Square basically made a ton of money from the mock station because everyone Fantasia'd.
Oh yeah.
I see a lot of Hrothgar and the Vieira running around. You know, I'm still gonna be rocking my Makote. You know.
Right.
Day one. I don't know. It just feels weird. You know, I'm weird like that because my immersion. You know. But I will say the detail in them is really good, and it makes you want them to like, hey, can you like go back and update the other races? Because we see that you have the potential. You know how to do it.
All right, so hot take.
Give them some love. What?
Hot take. All right.
What, you ain't feeling them?
I think both of the new races are trash.
Oh my.
But here's why.
You gotta probably say that you hate them. Why?
All right, so check this out. As I see them in the game, I actually will go and stand next to players, and I'll completely take away my HUD and kind of just zoom in on them and like actually just kind of really, really look at them in game, right? And the problem I have with the classes is that
the races.
Oh, so yeah, not the class, races. Yeah, the problem I have with the races, they're too similar. Like,
oh, you mean you don't see much of a difference between
Vieira? Well, no. I mean, Vieira and Makote, they look almost. They're not. Like, the only thing that separates them is just the ears. That's almost it that separates them. Almost.
I think that goes for a lot of them, though. I mean, you can say that with a lot. I mean, the biggest ones that are different are like the Rogadins and what's it called? The Lalafels. As far as like, if you're looking at all the races as a whole.
Well, like Elazins don't look like Makotes at all. Not at all.
I'll give you Elazins. Yeah.
Lalas don't look like Makotes. Rogadins don't look like Makotes. Humans, I mean, they're basically just, you know, Makotes are just kind of humans with cat ears and cat stuff. So like, I'll give them a pass on that. Like that, you know, it has to be based off of something, right? So that's fine. Yeah, I feel like the Vieira, like, everybody's making such a big deal about it, but I feel like they look too human. I feel like they need to be more bunny.
More bunny?
More bunny to look just like its own thing. Because I'll look at them and I notice if I look too quick, they look just like Makotes to me. It's just the only thing that separates them to me whenever I see them is just the ears. That's it.
But they're just as tall as your character, though. How can you mistake them for Makote?
I think it's because, like, from my perspective, I'm an Ellison, so like, everybody's like short to me in the game. But then
That's what I mean. Like the Viera are relatively close to your height, so like I'm trying to see how you're mistaking it for Makote, because Makotes are not that big.
Well, and then also like my game is always zoomed out maximum always.
Oh, okay.
So unless
So
I
you're
like,
not-
unless I get right up on them and then I zoom in like I did before, that's the only time I can really tell the difference. And then like certain camera angles,
So you mean like
you can't see height.
From an overview, you can't see.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not. I feel like their traits need to be just
More distinguished.
much more distinguished. I feel like they're not bunny enough.
Which is weird, because like they translated the race actually faithful to its Final Fantasy XII counterpart.
Which is fine. That's totally cool.
Yeah. So like, it's a weird road to the tread. It's
Right.
like you got to be faithful to the source material, and especially as one as popular as Viera already are. That people have been asking for this race since 2.0 to get added to the game, and then to deliver it in a package that people are not necessarily wanting, just to get some individuality, I guess, is what you're looking for.
Right.
I don't think that'd be the right course of action to go through, and I think that's where you make up for it with Hrothgar, though.
Well, okay, I have a problem with those.
Okay, what's your problem with them?
They look just like is the big one Rogadins?
You think they look like Rogadins?
Absolutely, they're just Rogadins with hair.
Just because of the body type?
Absolutely, yeah, 100%.
Okay, so how many more body types can you really make? You know what I mean?
Well,
So I mean, their faces are different.
make something. I mean, yeah, but the face is different. I mean, cool, yeah, but I mean, like, I want like I want them to do something weird. Give me like some
Well, we're not
fucking
gonna get
like.
your WoW direwolves or anything like that.
Well, no, I'm not thinking World of Warcraft. I'm just thinking like other games. Like I'm thinking like Skyrim. Like we got lizard people. We got like real cat people, not the Makotes we have in this game. We got like they look like real cats. So it's just like I think that's
we run
what
to the
I'm
same
expecting.
problem that they would just implement. I forget what they're called, but the cat people from Skyrim. You just say, well, they're just Makotes with fur.
Which that's fine. That's fine, but they
But
look
then what's
Makotes look more like humans than they do cats.
But then we have Hrothgar. They're just they're cats, but they have a Rogan build, or lions.
Yeah, and I feel like they just look too much like Roganins, bro.
Oh my god. Nah, I think we're getting to the nitpick here.
Well, yeah, this isn't like a make or break, deal breaker type thing. This is just me just being picky. And plus, it doesn't matter. Ellison's the best race anyway. You know what I'm saying? If we're gonna be real about that shit, you know what I'm saying? That's just real talk. Ellison master race, bro. I mean, I'm not out here trying to be somebody I'm not.
But I think we find these things with these races because Square is trying to be efficient with its resources.
Right.
And-
Are they? I don't know, bro. Wait a minute.
Well, as far as like the gear and stuff, like apparently it takes a lot of them, a lot for them to retool and remap out and reanimate all these different gear pieces for all the different races and stuff like that.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, you're right.
So they can't. They need to stick with a template, and you're not the first person to come up with this criticism as far as the races looking too similar.
Right.
That's pretty much why Hrothgar is a thing. People have been, or these. That's how the conversation kind of started. It's like we want something a little bit more different. It's like, oh, okay, then you got Al-Ra. It's like, okay, yeah, but they're still human with some scales. It's like, well, they can't deviate too much because they have a template that they can work with to get their item management done efficiently as far as animations and stuff like that and coding and all that. So
I see.
I
So
feel
they
like
just they have actual like limitations as far as like what they can and can't.
yeah, how diverse they can make the characters. And
Okay, that's fair.
some of the biggest criticisms I've been hearing from them is that because they have a different template from the usual races, they don't get access to all the hairstyles that are in the game. Neither of them. So it seems like they're already stretching themselves thin, and this could all be just because of the infamous spaghetti code that was 1.0.
Right.
We don't know what that monstrosity has done to the game that is basically gimping them from doing more than what they can with the customization, you know? And it sucks. It could be catching up to them now, which kind of impresses me a bit because they're able to push out this type of quality of the story and still do some other things. Okay, Square's not slouching. I'll give him that. Yoshipi and his team. You know, so they're finding ways to get work done and still perform. You know.
Right.
So yeah, like that's something I will say. Like, okay, they look different from the other races, but their options are kind of limited though.
Well,
from what I've seen, like in the character creator and stuff. And so some people are hoping that eventually that they may actually, you know, give more access to the other hairstyles or give them more hairstyles for their own. But we'll see. We'll see if they are able to do that. Because like especially for Rothgar, it seems like their biggest customizations within the color patterns of their fur. It seems like it's pretty unique there, but the weird thing about them is that their heads can't share different hairstyles amongst their race themselves. It's weird. So like there's like 6 different head styles, 6 or 8, and then amongst those 6 or 8, each of those have like 2 options that they can use. You can have this hairstyle or this hairstyle. So it limits you even more that way. So like basically only have, you know, 2 options of hair, 2 or 3 options of hair for one face, and you can't mix and match hair between different faces. It's very weird how they did that, and it could be a byproduct of them branching out too much within the code of the game. I don't know, but you can already see some weird cracks forming within the races themselves as far as the customization tools. It's like, this is a kind of weird way to implement these things. And then you also have that they can't wear all the headgear yet either. Right. So that these races are actually kind of rushed out in some aspects if you look at it. It seems like they may have needed more time to get these races done, you know, but they wanted them out for the expansion. That's why there's some weird shortcuts and some weird tendencies you're seeing within the customization that you wouldn't see with the other races, you know?
Well, as far as their like customization and everything, I have no idea. I'll never know. I didn't know until you told me. Otherwise, I would have walked just the whole game and never know. I'd have been like, "Oh, you can't wear the helmet? Should have picked Alice, nerd. Get wrecked." but yeah, I mean, that's fine. I mean, if they can only go by certain templates and they can only go so far, I mean, I guess that's fine. That's not a big deal. I feel like though that later on that might be problematic a little bit, just from so I'm seeing, so I was doing some research on like just MMOs and what different player bases have done in reaction to certain things that game developers have done. And like, so Final Fantasy, right now, the player base is familiar with the whole Final Fantasy genre in itself. But in comparison to the whole gaming space, like as far as like the whole, like in comparison to everybody that picks up a video game, there's only a certain amount of people that have ever played Final Fantasy or are even interested in playing a Final Fantasy game, right?
No, yeah. Final Fantasy is a large, closeted community.
Exactly.
You know, like, yeah, you know Final Fantasy, and it is a big series. But even growing up, you didn't talk about it too much, you know.
And not everybody's into it, but because exactly. So because Square is deciding to cast a wider net, they aren't gonna get people that are Final Fantasy fans anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's gonna be soon the demographic is gonna flip, where it's gonna be you are getting players from World of Warcraft as we see today, and then you're gonna get some players from like Terra, and this is gonna be the game people play whenever they're waiting for something on Black Desert Online or something like that. People that never played a Final Fantasy game, have no interest in them, that just want to just play a new MMO. So it's like, I feel like some of these things that they haven't been able to do yet, soon people are going to be kind of expecting them to do it. And not to say they won't be able to live up to it, but I feel like as far as them going with past games and like keeping that lore solid, I think they're gonna eventually have to deviate from that. They won't have a choice, because it'll be kind of like the majority won't even get what you're referencing, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? That hasn't happened yet, but I foresee that happening soon-ish.
And is this like is this a segue into that one video that we saw?
It is! And to some other interesting things that I looked into and found out.
All right, well, part of me is like, well, if it ain't for you, it ain't for you.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. So let's just talk about him. The guy, what's his name?
Did you want me to do the whole? I'll do the rundown. I'll let you react to it.
Yeah.
All right, so
let's do the rundown.
So there's a video that got put out. I want to say 3-4 days ago by this point. It's by Lazy Peon, and if you are big in MMOs, you know you're gonna know who he is. But if you don't know Lazy Peon's channel, he put out a video and he actually dropped his view on Final Fantasy XIV, like right before the expansion dropped.
It was totally calculated. He knew what he was doing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And he basically ripped apart the whole leveling system in the game and said that the leveling in 14 really, really sucks. And he just had some really strong opinions about it. He also brought up some good points. And all right, Kehda, I'll let you take it from here, though, man. What did you think about after I linked it to you and you saw it? And, I don't think we talked about that. So
no, we didn't really have a chance to really talk about it.
Right.
I mean, the stuff I was hearing is just like, okay, and why are you still here? that's you play a game, you didn't enjoy it, move on.
Okay.
It feels like it feels very. I mean, I guess you can. Well, what I'm about to say, you probably can say on both sides, but it feels very entitled of him for a game to not play the way he wants it to, and to get mad for it, and then these adjustment to the game. I can understand there should be a level of accessibility to where people should be able to come in, but it almost feels like he wants it to uplift its core fundamental design to accommodate his playstyle. First and foremost, 14 may be an MMO, but it is strongly rooted in the MMORPG side of MMOs. And what comes with RPGs are story quests that you have to play through. Story is an integral part of not just RPGs, but Final Fantasy as a whole. You know, you can't have one without the other. and I think that's like, at least from my takeaway from it, that's like the biggest roadblock for him. And I know I've heard arguments where you can just say, well, why can't the story just be a side thing, and that way you can still level up to max level and not have to worry about the story. That the story is an integral part of the game itself, and if you did that, you would be casting aside the whole fan base that this game was made for to accommodate new people coming in. So like, basically, why didn't you just make the game for those other people then from the start? You know what I mean? This game was crafted to fit a certain demographic, and it achieved that. So now you just want it to cast that aside for a new group of people. Basically, how I think of it is that I like to play racing games.
Okay.
But there are certain types of racing games that I like to play.
Right.
I'm more of the arcadey feel. I don't want to be too precise in my controls and my steering and stuff like that. I want to be able to, drive around fast and look cool doing it, But you also have those, you have the simulation games, the simulation racers.
Oh, they want that real experience, yeah.
They want that realism, they want that racing wheel. They want to feel like they're actually driving an Aston Martin or a McLaren, down the Indy 500 or whatever. And so if I'm going to say like, what, I've been messing with the Need for Speed series for a long time. Let me go check out Forza, let me go see how Forza is. And I play, what is this? I'm crashing into the sides right here. And like, the car is way too stiff, and it's like, it's over responsive. It's like, it's way too sensitive. Why is that like, bruh, turn 10, go change your game. I don't like this. This doesn't make any sense. The cars are unrealistic. You can't just drive. No car doesn't handle this way. And like, who am I to come in and say that that's not how it should be? And why should they accommodate for me? That I'm not the demographic that they were going for.
Right.
And so, but if you are going for a certain type of demographic, then just make a game for that demographic. You know what Forza did? They made a whole different game for those type of people who don't want a crazy sim-related game. That game is called Forza Horizon, and that game is more akin to your arcade racer, not as arcadey as Need for Speed or Midnight Club.
Oh man,
but,
what a great game.
Yeah, I threw that in it just for you, man.
Okay.
But it still has enough roots to where, hey, if you weren't a fan of simulation games, you could actually play Forza Horizon, get your feet wet, and it's like, okay, if you can still tune it to be more simmy if you ever want to work up to it. Right. So like, it starts off where it's very arcadey, but not so arcadey as Need for Speed. But then you see like, okay, I'm getting used to this, and you can turn up the dials to be more accurate to the cars themselves. And then they'll never be to what Forza brings forth, or even Gran Turismo in its heyday. Throw an old one out there, but it's a nice appetizer to if you ever want to get into that type of game. So it's a good way to what's the word?
Just satisfy
it's a good way to,
both those audiences.
Satisfying. It's a good way to train.
Yeah, true.
A new audience. I think that's the idea I was going with there. But it's a good way to satisfy both audiences for sure. You get best of both worlds. It's right in the middle, but it's a good way to train a new potential player base. It's like, okay, this is the type of wheelhouse that they are playing in, and now I know what to expect. It gives a level of anticipation and what to it gives a level of expectation of what am I going to receive from the product, And I think that's something that he's kind of missing here, and it's something that Square doesn't need to necessarily bend, head over heels to accommodate. If they're going to accommodate it, they can do it in other avenues.
Well, it's interesting. Okay, so this is gonna be a tough one, my dude. All right.
Mhm.
So okay, check this. So when I watched the video, I had a.
I bet you could relate.
You said what?
I bet you could relate.
Yes and no.
Okay.
I had a completely different take on what he was saying. So, and maybe it's because I'm a little biased to Lazy Peon, just because I'm one of his subscribers. I've been following him for a long time, and I kind of understand. I understand what he means to an extent because I've just spent the time with the guy to know him like more in depth instead of just kind of watching the video and be like he's an asshole
his
trying to shit on
mannerisms and stuff.
Yeah, because he wasn't trying to shit on the game, and he even brings up points where he says he's not trying to. Which it's hard to see that and
Because
hear that.
it could come off as disingenuous if he's actually being truthful. If you're just coming in, if you don't know the person, I guess.
Right, because he's not one to slander games, and the points he brought up, he said that, which actually his word choice is probably really poor. He shouldn't have said. Well, I won't get into that, but anyways, his whole point of the video was to explain what new players might feel about the game when they first play it for the first time.
And he didn't prep it that way though.
Well, he did, but he did it like in the middle-ish end of the video.
Oh, well, you're already checked out or raged in by that point.
Exactly. Like if you really, really enjoy the series, you're fucking triggered already from the damn title, bro. So you didn't hear any of that stuff, that's his fault for setting it up that way. He shouldn't have done that. It really wasn't smart.
Yeah.
But new players, when they first play this game and they start from the beginning, he is absolutely right, 100%. And I mean new player as in this is somebody that has no emotional stake in Final Fantasy XIV. They just want to play an MMO, and the MMO drought has been forever, so everybody's going to try 14, especially when they hear Shadowbringers is actually good, because it actually is. If they start from A Realm Reborn and go all the way up to Shadowbringers, the game sucks. And it sucks in the aspect. And
I'm not even sure. Is it right to say it sucks though?
No, it does. It does, Ken. It really does.
Like, when I guess the only my argument towards that is saying that if it sucks, then how is it here to begin with? You know what I mean?
Because
the
reason why it's here right now. The only reason why it's here right now is because the Final Fantasy community has been holding it up. But the thing is that we had 1.0, and we've seen a community leave. People left 1.0, right?
It's not even a fraction of people left in 1.0 to still play it.
Well, Kehda, I mean, the majority of people you play with in the game all have played Final Fantasy games. Like almost, we're talking like, fuck man, like 80, 85, 90%. So it's... I
guess what I'm saying is that we've seen Square put out a bad MMO, right? And Final Fantasy fans hate it, and they left it. And then they come out with a new one. This is way better. So like, I don't think you can just say it sucks, it's bad.
Well, you gotta let me explain for the reasons why it sucks.
But I mean, I don't think we can say that it just objectively sucks, though.
I'm not saying it sucks objectively. I'm just saying it does, which is just an opinion. That's all. The beginning of the game sucks because if I think about it from I'm trying to get to I'm trying to explain what his perspective was, because he is explaining it. If you're a new, so let's say I get a buddy of mine that's been playing Guild Wars 2, and I say, yo, Final Fantasy XIV is lit, dog. Come play. Shadowbringers is flames. He's like, okay, cool. So he's from Guild Wars 2. He has MMO experience. He wants to play 14. So in order for him to get to where I'm at, the only thing stopping him from getting there at like a decent amount of pace, a decent amount of time, is the story. And the story, there is so many story quests. There are so many cutscenes. There are so many bits of dialogue that you have to go through. And if you're trying to get to where your friends are quickly, it takes forever, and it really, really sucks the fun out of the game, that is the point he brought up. Now, in that aspect, I think that would suck for somebody that's not a Final Fantasy fan. So you don't really care about story, you're just here to play with your buddies. So, in that scenario, you'd say, oh, well, why don't you just pay and level boost? It's like, well, he's an MMO player, and he knows if he level boosts, he's just going to be trash at the game. He wants to be good because it's no fun to be terrible when you're playing with your homies. So it's like that aspect that he was talking about where there's too much story stuff in between the meat, which is most people, if they're not invested in Final Fantasy's like lore and story, they may not really care too much. They might be more so there for the gameplay. That's kind of what he was getting at. And so, and I think from that perspective, I think he's right. Also, Square is like, Final Fantasy XIV is a theme park MMO. So I think now, at the point that the game is at now, I think they fully, I think the word's exacerbated, or they've fully used the Final Fantasy demographic. I think that demographic has been maxed out as far as it can go. So now they're at a crossroads where they have to say, well, we've reached our limit as far as the Final Fantasy fans are concerned. They love us, we treat them right, they treat us good, blah, blah, blah. Now we have to branch out to the rest of the world. So they're like making, they're making this Final Fantasy kind of MMO. They're putting guys like, what was his name?
Tom Holland.
I don't know who. Is that who that other guy was?
Spider-Man.
Oh,
yeah, you talking about that new Shadowbringers commercial?
Yeah,
that's him, Spider-Man.
I knew the black dude. That's Hannibal. He's a comedian. He was.
Oh yeah, Hannibal too. Yeah, he was in there too.
He's the dude from the Eric Andre show.
Yeah,
and he's a really funny comedian that I follow. So I was like, oh, I know who the hell that dude is. What the hell is he doing on a Shadowbringers commercial?
Yeah.
So it's like now they're trying to branch out and catch that wider net. Well, here's the bad side about that. The rest of the world doesn't care about Final Fantasy. Not to say it's bad. It's just they're branching out, so where they're gonna be getting people that have been playing fucking Madden all their life, or like some other game series. They may not be too invested in the story or really care. They might be like, well, where's the game at? So it's like I feel like the video would have been done much better if he would explain that, like, since Square is trying to reach a wider audience, they're gonna have to put in avenues, which, like you said before, where they allow you to just not go through the story at all. Just get to the, like, if you come into the game brand new and you want to just do gameplay, you should just be able to just do that. Because then you're satisfying that need for that demographic, just like what Forza decided to do, like you gave in that example.
Yeah, so but Forza did a whole new game for that without disrupting their original IP. You know what I mean?
Well, I think Forza might be a bad example because Forza is not an MMO. They kind of just release, you know what I'm saying? They release games yearly or whatever. And I don't think they have the resources to release another MMO. I don't know if that would be a good idea. I feel like they'd be in some trouble, yeah.
But the problem is that how far are you willing to go before you compromise the audience that you already have?
Well, it's interesting because this is where I see that 14 might end up in the same scenario as World of Warcraft, which interesting enough, actually WoW is making a comeback, and it's not about classic WoW. Like, apparently they put in a new patch in BFA and everybody loves it. Like everybody's coming back to play WoW because apparently this new patch in BFA is just lit and everybody's just the developers finally did what they asked for. But that's a whole nother thing. Because 14 is getting so big and they want to get bigger. They want to. It seems like they do. So now they have to reach out to a wider audience. So the wider audience is going to be bigger than your main player base. So they gotta they gotta choose. Are they going to listen to the bigger wallets, or are they going to listen to the people that have been OG? So that it's gonna. I don't know what they're going to choose. I have no idea, but I don't think they can be in the middle because there's going to be some things that both those communities.
You can't. Yeah, you can't be in the middle because you by being in the middle you satisfy no one.
Exactly.
I mean, because like you may make some changes, but it may not be enough to get those new people in. But you also make changes on the other end of the spectrum to where it's like, yo, you just basically diluted my experience, and now it's not up to the quality that it used to be.
Yeah. So
or what we expected. So no, and only thing I can really think of is like, well, the story boost is just data. That's all it is. It's just data. Why does that have to be $25? Make that bad boy $10.
True.
You know, and we need to just start. I feel like the trust system could be a good way to implement that into old dungeons, so people don't have to worry about queue times, and make those trusts. Right now the trust system is good, but you will clear content faster with the actual party.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because like their numbers are dialed, their stats are dialed, they're not gonna outpace a player, you know. But doesn't mean that they can't just click an off, an on-off button, turn that bad boy on, and give those trusts a boost so that they can go through those dungeons much quicker.
Well, I think it's not even just the dungeon. It's just like
well, I'm just talking about just like little things in that experience that people have to go through.
Yeah, I think that definitely helped.
They can just get rid of the filler. There are filler quests, fetch quests within the story experience that could be removed. Now that would take time on Square to actually go through, the minutia of all those quest logs to see what was substantial and what wasn't substantial. But if they really want to get that player base, that's time that they would have to invest into it. And if you got rid of a lot of the filler and just left in the main story beats, the pacing would be way quicker than what it was when we went through it. And we wouldn't have to go between, because like I can tell you right now, like the quests over in Casa del Sol, right before you fight Titan the first time, there's a super long quest chain that really has little to no impact on the overall. Yeah, right. So like they can remove a lot of that, just cheese, trim the fat of that, and just expedite the process, and just put in way more experience for people that can gain within the levels themselves they're losing.
Well, like some people just don't want any of it. Like, well, then and it's interesting because I'm one of those people. I don't want none of it. Like if 14 did that, I'd be all for it. I'd be like, hell yeah, game just got better. Less cutscenes for me to skip. Because I hate going through a main story quest. It is like when I imagine it in my mind, right? If I ever lost my character, I would never play this game again. Never in my life. I'd be done. Like I'm serious. I'd be done. I don't care if I was world first, if I did anything, if I had some really cool gear. I would never play the game again because it's too much to start a new character. And I mean, maybe I could pay, but it's a good thing to have that in there because I guess maybe I would go that route. But if let's say, I'm like a 14-year-old kid I lose my character. I don't got no job, so it's not like and then mommy and daddy are only gonna pay my sub. That's it.
Yeah.
If I lose my character, it's just like, do they really want to start that all over again from OG A Realm Reborn, all the way through Heaven's Ward, and then all the way through shitty Stormblood? So, you know what I'm saying? It's just like that whole thing is it's like, do you think you could restart all that and enjoy your time doing it?
You don't know me very
well. Oh man, you're wildin', bro. Don't say it ain't so,
no,
man.
Serious?
Would you really enjoy doing that all over again?
Dude, I'm excited for the new Game Plus that they're implementing.
Oh, dude.
I have an alt just for the story to go and experience do it again.
So okay, how about this? I think I'm seeing where we kind of sit on the spectrum, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think I sit way far on one end, and I think you sit way far on the other end.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the middle, I think the average person may want to experience some of it.
Yeah.
I don't think they'd want to really redo the whole thing, but they may not necessarily want to skip everything.
Yeah.
And they're currently they don't have a middle ground. The only middle ground is to pay money.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like they've gotten better with the new expansions.
Right.
There's less fluff. There's less filler between the quests. And Shadowbringers is a testament to that. Even Stormblood is a testament to that. Stormblood was a pretty smooth sailing as far as going from quest to quest.
I don't know. Stormblood has some other problems. I was not.
Well, I'm talking just story.
That's what I mean. Like
what?
Oh, so I felt like that I had to do the last bit of Stormblood to get the Shadowbringers, and it was painful. It was super painful, especially the parts where I had to like play as other people. Oh, dude, I wanted to like throw my monitor. Like I have never been so like angry at this game in my life until I saw that. Like each time it happened, I was just like, who at Square was drunk enough to think I would want to play as stupid Alphinaud? Like I hate him. I hate looking at him. I don't want to be him.
That's the problem. This is the problem. I think that Square will never, because that's something new that people unanimously loved.
I don't know if it's unanimous. I don't know about that.
People who are in the demographic that Square's going for, they love that. That was, I don't know what else to say. It's way more immersive into the story. People love that aspect of it, how they're building on how they can engage with the player base. The players can engage with the character in the story more directly.
Well, but that's not the demographic they're going for.
What do you mean? Maybe now? But basically, they're just saying
I think ever since ever since Heaven's Ward ended, they've stopped going after like the Final Fantasy kind of fans.
I'm just telling you, like.
Well, you can see it with their advertising.
That may be the advertising, but they're not. They may be casting water net, but they're not changing themselves, and you're just trying to see who else will give us the time of day to experience what we're offering without changing what they're doing, being completely transparent.
Well, you advertise who you're trying to attract. So if they change their advertising, then they are changing who they're trying to attract. Because before, if you remember, back in Heaven's Ward, all their new advertising thing that they were talking about, people were going crazy about, was they put it on cup noodles. Which cup noodles is a weeb type thing to eat. Square, Japanese game, Japanese food. They had Cloud on it, so it was like, you know what I'm saying? It made sense for the Final Fantasy demographic. But later, like towards the end of Heaven's Ward, we see it on like Papa John's stuff. We see it on billboards.
Papa John's one.
Well, right.
I see that.
No, not that one. There's another one. It's like this is one I saw
Oh,
like years
yeah.
ago. This is like at the like I want to say the middle-ish tail end of Heaven's Ward, and then they start doing stuff like it's on billboards in New York. It's on, now we have this guy from the Spider-Man movie, and we have Hannibal, which is like, so Hannibal, if I could guess, that's probably more so to attract like more African Americans, and then the Spider-Man guy, that is not necessarily to attract like white people or whatever. I feel like he's just more general. Just because he's a big actor in the movie, so everybody's seen him before. And then you have they're dabbling in weeb stuff, which is the whole anime thing they're trying to do. I think that's just kind of a little side.
You saw those anime commercials that they've been throwing out there?
Yeah, I think that's just like I've seen it a little bit. I think that's more of like a little side project. I mean, I think that they've kind of already got
probably more for the demographic over in Japan. You know, there's probably just people in Japan who haven't played the game yet.
But I don't think they will, because Japan doesn't care about the game. I mean, Japan. Well, no, Japan don't care about this game. I can say that pretty easily, actually.
You know, Japan plays.
Not to say they don't play, but I mean, in comparison to like just Japan as a whole, nobody gives a crap about 14 in Japan.
I think that's generalizing a little bit too much, but I know what you're trying to get at. Like, the console market over in Japan has been steadily decreasing over there.
Even from a PC perspective, like, they don't really care about this game, and even from that perspective. Yeah, I mean, not to say that they don't, like nobody in Japan plays 14. I'm not saying that, but I mean, if you look at it from a statistics standpoint,
it could be misconstrued as that way, though.
I could probably pull up numbers and find it out pretty easily, because I've seen data on like the kind of games that people in Japan play, and for starters, it's not even MMOs at all. Like, they play them, but they don't. I mean, if you were to walk into the streets of Japan, you're not going to find very many people that play 14 in comparison to other stuff. Kind of like in America, right? Like, 14 is big to us because we know about it, but as far as like America statistically, 14 is like teeny weeny small potatoes.
Oh yeah, of course. I'm not saying that 14's huge.
That's all I'm saying. It's the exact same way in Japan. Like, it's teeny weeny small potatoes. It's a really, really small population of people.
No, and I'm just saying, the way that you're making it sound like that, you're saying like no one at all plays 14 in Japan.
Well, no.
I was trying to say that, like, it could, the way you were coming off, it made it sound like it could be misconstrued that way, saying that like no one in Japan plays 14.
No, not like that. Not nobody plays 14. Nobody in Japan plays 14. Not like that at all. It's just like in comparison to the whole, like Japan as a whole, it's like a small speck.
And you also have people over in Japan playing Phantasy Star Online over there as well.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's like their direct competitor over there. You know, if 14 has WoW, that Phantasy Star Online 2 would be, you know, the WoW for 14 over in Japan.
Maybe. It's hard to say, because like, just Japan is really weird. They don't really play. I mean, they play MMOs, but it's mostly about mobile games over there.
Well, yeah, I know.
Because nobody's at home. I mean, only people that are at home are like people that are shut-ins. Because everybody's at work, so it's just like the only thing you can play at work, on the go, on the way to work, on the subway, on the train, or whatever, is a mobile game. So Japan's huge for mobile games. Every other gaming thing is kind of like it's big, but not as big, kind of, sort of. It's really strange.
No, yeah, the console market over in Japan has just been
not that good.
Just time.
Yeah, which is crazy because they make the PS4, right? But
it's all just because of their society and, you know, the work environment.
Yeah.
Their lifestyles.
It's interesting because like, I feel like the United States is heading in that same direction. Actually, I definitely think it is, honestly.
Hmm.
Because we're running into similar problems. But I won't get into all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
This is
That can be
something for later. But yeah, so basically, Square is trying to cast this wider net, wider audience. And I think that they're going to have to choose. Like, who are they going to pick? And if I had to guess, I think they're going to be in the middle and nobody's going to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
From the just kind of knowing the culture of the company, because they don't really like to take a stand on too many things. I mean, they will sometimes, but a lot of times they like to just kind of fly under the radar and kind of sit in the middle, kind of, sort of,
Mm-hmm.
or not say anything at all. I feel like that's more their kind of mode of operation usually. Like, what do you think?
No, yeah. I think Japan as a whole has been kind of like one to not listen too much to the quote unquote outrage that any consumers may have, and then address it when they need to, or at least address it on their own behind closed doors and not be public about it. You know what I mean?
Right, definitely.
But where I feel how they will end up standing on things, well, from my initial part in Shadowbringers, it feels like they're going even further into the whole story elements. So I don't see them changing on that aspect. The stuff that they're doing with the story, how they're experimenting with stuff and the solo duties and stuff, it feels like they're almost embracing it. They're almost expecting you to go through the game. I will say this: they have made bigger strides so where you can play this game by yourself. And I think that's how I think they're doing that because on your end of the things, they may be looking at the situation differently. And maybe they don't have all the information of how people truly feel. You're coming from the angle that people don't want to do the story at all, right?
Well, no, not necessarily. Not that angle. I'm not saying that people
on the other side of the spectrum,
well,
or at least, okay, they don't want to get to, they don't have to do story to get the end game.
Not necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that what will happen is, because Stormblood is such a success, and I'm gonna go ahead and say that right now because I can just tell Stormblood is gonna be probably their best expansion ever. Because Stormblood is so successful and will be so successful, they're gonna attract more people.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get at, is that the way that they're gonna accommodate for those new people coming in who aren't used to playing story,
okay,
is by making the story experience as easy as possible.
Well, I think the only thing that would be difficult is just the problems that Peon brought up in the video.
I know, but I think from what Square has been doing, it makes me feel like they think the way that they solve that problem is by making the story easier. Not to say that it will, but I think that's how they're trying to tackle the issue of questing. Well,
see, I don't think they're gonna do it like that. The only reason I think that is because they've shown no evidence to say that they would in their history ever. Because they don't build on things. Things just kind of just be different, and then like they go on to the next thing, kind of. So like they're not very like laser focused on things. They're very like they'll just kind of jump to the next thing, kind of, sort of.
Well, no, they are. If they're laser focused on anything, they're actually laser focused on the story. That's the one thing across 14 in this development has always consistently evolved and has been built upon. The story elements they've been doing from 2.0 all up to right now to 5.0. The story engagement has been way more in depth and way more engaging and way more hands on and way more solo focused.
Well, so You know that because you've been playing since forever. But what about Jimmy, who's never played 14 in his life? I can't say that he necessarily, because that is who their audience. That's the audience that they're gonna get. And
I know that people care about that because that's not what they're here for. That's not what they're into.
Well, soon, because Stormblood is so popular, the expansion afterwards, there's gonna be a shift.
Well, I think I'm not explaining it properly.
Okay.
Because I know the certain demographic is not going to care about those changes and care about that stuff. But what I'm saying that I don't think Square understands that demographic doesn't care about those changes.
Right.
I think they're trying to solve the problem with the wrong solution. That's what I'm trying to say. So they're not going to meet in the middle ground. They think, okay, if we're going to solve problem B, we can do it by doing problem C. Problem C just happens to be making the story more approachable from a solo standpoint, even though that will not solve problem B. You know, the problem of getting new players in here who may not be accustomed to going or want to go through going all those story beats because it's just too monotonous, too tedious to go through. It's just too much to ask of that player who is not personally invested in Final Fantasy. But I don't think that's something that Square probably realizes. They probably just see the information. It's like, okay, what's wrong? The story content in the earlier games are too hard to get through. It takes too much time. How can we do that? Okay, that must mean that we need to make story progression easier. And how can we make it easier? Well, they don't have to play with people all the time. They can just do it by themselves. That will make it easier, even though that's probably not the right solution that people are looking for.
Right.
I think that's what I'm trying to get at. But I don't think Square realizes that. They think that this will fix it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be like, that's probably going to make things even more problematic than it's already kind of setting up to be.
Because it's basically, they're doubling down on something that the other end of the spectrum loves. I love the heck out of it.
Yeah.
So like they don't realize, even though it makes them less of an MMO per se by going that route, by making it so solo duty focused, at least in the initial progression. You know, I mean, that's not going to be raiding, you know, you're still going to have to raid with other people if you want to do those fights and stuff like that. But for the story content, it's becoming less and less of an MMO because you can actually do the whole Stormblood story without engaging with other people.
Well, it's not even the engagement with other people. It's just that it takes too long to get there.
No, yeah.
There's even skipping cutscenes
is the problem, and that's how they solve it. That's just what they, at least that's what I get from them.
Right.
I think they'll solve the problem.
And it may not even be like, see, the other part is that like, it may not necessarily even be story. It might be something else.
Yeah.
Which, you know, it might be gameplay. It might be, I don't know. It could be races or whatever. Just because they're not, the game is about to expand and it's no longer going to be about Final Fantasy fans. It just won't. It won't be like that because of the way they're setting themselves up, because they're trying to basically be the new World of Warcraft. And whether people want to believe that or not, that is their goal. And it's obvious. You can tell by the way they're making these moves. I mean, what PR person is going to say, you know what? Let's put out the fact that we have 1 million active players. We're not going to do it for growth. We're just going to do it just to talk about it. Like, they're absolutely doing it to, you know, rub it in WoW's face, because Final Fantasy has 1 million active players. WoW just lost 1 million players. Granted, WoW's still massively bigger than 14, but you know, it's still putting a dent in a giant, which, you know.
No, that's substantial.
Yeah, it's substantial, definitely. But I feel like, what are they gonna do whenever they Like, who are they going to turn their backs on? Are they going to turn their backs on their fans or the new people that are going to actually help them grow? Because the fans can only get you so far. I mean, they'll
They're
get
sustainable, though.
They're sustainable, but
So what do you want? Do you want the fan base that is fleeting, or the potential fan base that is fleeting? That's the new people.
well,
Or do you want?
this goes back to one of those things we talked about where companies aren't okay with sustaining. So the whole 14 Yoshi P's team, they ain't about sustaining. They're trying to like grow as fast as possible and get as big as possible, which there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. But I think they're going to have to make a choice, and they're not going to be able to appease both audiences. But if they're thinking about money and growth, I think that the fans of 14, a lot of them will end up feeling betrayed, like World of Warcraft is currently, but I think it's going to happen much sooner in 14's life cycle than World of Warcraft. But not to say that this is going to kill 14. I absolutely disagree with that. I do not think that's going to happen at all. But I think that the next expansion, I think things are going to get a little rocky. Like, the expansion may still be lit, right? But I think once the audience and the demographic gets a lot bigger and that net gets wider, Square's going to have to listen to the audience that says, oh, well, what about Fire 6? We need that. And then the fans are like, what the hell? There ain't no Fire 6, bro. What are you talking about? We want Fire 6. We want Fire 7 too. We want Flare 3. You know, they might just come up with some stupid stuff, which, granted, it may be some really dumb stuff, but if a large amount of people that's bigger than the 14 faithful audience says something, then it puts them in a difficult spot. And that's mainly what I'm getting at. Like, I'm curious to see like what they decide to do. But I feel like that crossroad is coming because Shadowbringers is so good. It sucks, but that's just the world, right?
I mean, who knows? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe they'll be one of the few companies to go, F it, we're not going to change anything. We're just going to do our thing.
Well, it's interesting because I don't know if there's any company that we even could name that
on this side.
Well, any household named company has ever done that before. Because eventually, the ones that do end up doing stuff like that, they've all gone out of business. Like, yeah.
I was gonna say Capcom. Because they had a Capcom was a household name. Right. Everyone knew Capcom.
Right.
You know, everyone still does. But there's definitely during this generation where Capcom went through quite the downfall.
Right.
It's kind of spiraled out. You know, they weren't doing well on the fighting game front. You know, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, that tried to appeal to the broader audience.
Yeah.
You know, it tried to appeal to the people coming off of Avengers, and it neglected all the fan favorites from the past Marvel vs. Capcom games in favor for the new marketable ones from the MCU and the movies. And it's like, well, you didn't please fans that way, who are already loyal, and then on top of that, you didn't attract the people coming in because the whole thing with graphics and stuff were not up to snuff either.
Right.
The polish of the game wasn't that good, so you didn't please anyone. And then you also have Street Fighter V.
Yeah.
It has gotten better maybe as of recently, but it had a shaky first 2, even 3 years.
It's been out forever at this point, where it's like, you know.
It's been out for the entire generation of the of this generation. You know, it was this Street Fighter next gen Street Fighter, you know, and it was so heavily on esports, the popular, you know, demographic right now, since esports is just popping right now, and they neglected the loyal casual fans. So this one actually kind of did the reverse. Ironically, it invested into the hardcore fans. That is kind of a niche, and thought the casual fans would just flock to it, but they didn't. I don't know. Street Fighter V was weird, even, and I'm actually a die-hard Street Fighter fan, and I didn't even mess with it either.
Right.
Either way, the point I'm getting at is that we've seen them try to accommodate, you know, two different demographics, but then they came back on the rise, come back on top with Mega Man 11. You also have Devil May Cry 5 going back to their roots, and also Resident Evil 2 remake. Games that, you know, all right, we're gonna go back to what we do best, what the fans love us for, and they killed it, you know.
Well, I think those companies are in a different, like, I think that's a different example, because like 14 isn't, it's the same thing with the Forza thing, where it's like they're gonna release new games no matter what, so they get multiple chances, if that makes sense, right? So
I guess I'm as far as the narrative, I guess that's what I'm going with, as far as them having a good run, hitting a low, and then because they made a decision when they were at the crossroads, you know,
right,
they made a choice, A or B, who are you gonna save, type of thing, and then they picked one, and this is the outcome that they had, and now they had to find a way to dig themselves out of that outcome. Not everyone is successful, but you know, I guess I'm saying that we've seen someone make a bad choice, but they will just come back from it somehow.
It's not to say that they can't, it's like impossible to come back. It's to say that, like, because it's
not sustainable within an MMO.
Well, yeah, it's just 14. So I'm not saying that Square Enix is gonna go out of business if 14 does bad. I'd be dumb. I'd be foolish to even think that. Like I see all these people saying, "Oh, Bethesda's gonna go out of business because Fallout, it was horrible." It's like, you're a fucking idiot. You have to be like actually stupid to think that Bethesda, the whole company as a whole, is gonna go bankrupt because of one game. Like, you have to be super dumb to think that. Which is the majority of probably most people that believe all of like Polygon's articles and junk, like, you know what I'm saying? People just not educated, which is fine. That's fine. It's totally cool.
Not real journalists, no listeners.
Yeah, exactly. But so it's not to say Square Enix as a whole is at a crossroads, but I think that
14's narrative.
Yeah, 14 is going to be at a crossroads. So it's going to be like they're going to have to choose either their OG people that care about, you know, story and the continuity of just Final Fantasy, just lore and just how the game should be, versus whatever these new people decide to rally and cry for, which we have no idea what that's going to be. And you know, it may not deviate too far from what some people have asked for. Maybe it'll be the same. Maybe Square will be successful at converting them into Final Fantasy fans, which, I mean, that's not impossible. It definitely could happen. But I still think they're going to be at that crossroads where it's not to say the crossroads makes or breaks you. It isn't, you know, it's just a choice. That's all it is. So not to say that if they choose, the 14 fans are going to go under. If they choose the other people, they're going to go under. It's not that. It's just that choice is going to dictate the culture of that division of that company. So it's going to basically tell people, this is how Yoshi P's team reacts under big choices like this. Do I believe in what they believe in? Am I going to continue to support them? Some people will, some people won't. So it's just going to be like just one of those splits. So they may choose the general audience, and so 14 may no longer just be that Final Fantasy lore packed MMO. It might just be a whole new beast in its entirety that none of us can recognize by the end of it. Or it'll just be jam-packed with Final Fantasy lore, and all the people that play Madden and 2K just say, I knew that game was trash. Let me go back to playing 2K, which is trash anyway.
That's just everything going back how reaching its equilibrium, going back to normal.
Well,
nothing changes.
The only problem is that Square is going to have to answer to their investors. And I think that is going to be a little problematic, because if they go with the 14 audience and completely say no to the general audience, we may see more, I'll say, creative ways to monetize the game further, potentially. Because I know Square's got investors, and we know how investors can get. I'm pretty sure they're pretty pissed about 15. So, you know what I'm saying? I don't think they'd be too happy to see that their franchise that is working and has been thriving, especially as of now, would be, not making them more money.
Yeah, and who knows, the projects for the investors could be FF7 remake, and also what's it called, the Avengers project.
Yeah,
that's already coming out as it may be a loot box monster, a microtransactions monster.
Yeah, we have no idea. And I've been keeping it's interesting. I don't know if you've been keeping your eye on it, but I've been keeping my eye on the MOG station. And in comparison to Aroma Born, it looks a lot different than how I remember it. Now,
well, it wasn't in Aroma Reborn. Wasn't that implemented in Heaven's Ward, or very late Aroma Reborn?
Yeah, it was like late game Aroma Born.
So,
but from the stuff I'm seeing them put into it, I'm like, okay, the MOG station looks interesting. It doesn't look like a requirement, that you need to buy stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it's not bad. Like, it's fine, right?
It's glamour.
But I see them add like more and more and more stuff, like this whole level boosting, that kind of stuff, which is similar to
Heaven's Ward.
You said what?
That's been there in Heaven's Ward, their level boost.
Right, exactly. So it's still, but it's still in its infancy, because we haven't had that many expansions.
I thought you were going to say that we're seeing a whole lot more and more mounts, more and more minions, more and more outfits.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say that, because we do have a lot more of that stuff, and you could potentially say that could be rewarded in the game. Give me reason to play. Give me a reason to go grind out stuff to earn those outfits that are already.
Which is another thing that World of Warcraft runs into the same issue, where there's all these really, really cool mounts that people want that they have to pay for to get. They won't put into the game naturally for whatever reason.
And not to justify it, but some of those things that Square puts in the MOG station are from the Chinese markets. So for us, we have the Golden Saucer.
Okay.
But over in China, in their special servers, they don't have the Golden Saucer.
Oh.
Because of some laws over in China, the gambling laws, they can't do that type of thing into the game.
That's right, yeah.
So, to circumvent that, they actually give them free items.
Really?
Yeah. And so, in return, since they have those assets, they come over and sell it to us later.
Are you serious?
Yeah, a lot of that stuff is from China and then comes over here.
I think I remember reading something about that. I think a very small minority of people were really upset about it. So I think that's why I didn't get the full message. I just knew something about it.
Yeah.
China gets this,
because
and we don't. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever that means.
Well, people are upset about it. Well, at least they're not super vocal about it, but they would of course prefer it to be in game, but they're happy to have it. But I think it's only getting a pass because of the culture of microtransactions right now as a whole in the gaming landscape. You know, people are more acceptable of it for, you know, glamour stuff.
Right.
You know, it's just cosmetic. It doesn't matter. It doesn't affect the game, so it's fine. Except in an MMO, when glamour is such an important thing, that could be a craft item that you could craft, or that could be gameplay. You know, that can go into the market value in the whole economy.
Because what if somebody raises the... What if they say, like, well, if they would have put this as a crafted item in game, I could have leveled my crafter, and they would have made the same money if I would have just subbed that extra month, right? Which is... That's actually a legit argument.
And a player base incentive to play, because we already know that glamour is the true endgame in 14.
Yeah, pretty much.
The community in 14 love the glamour, and so if you had some of those glamours that are being featured in the cash shop in game, but you just made them ridiculous to get for,
right?
They'd be some of the highest paid items ever on the market board.
Yep.
You know, or even not even that, just put them in some of the trials or the raids. You know,
true.
There'd be some people that would, I never raided before, but I'll raid for that glamour piece.
People would freaking kill themselves in raid. They'd be banging their heads against their keyboards. We got some really good players, though.
If you want more engagement into the raid scene, there you go. That's how you get the casual audience in there. That's how you get the RP audience in there.
But they would be really upset because they feel like they'd probably feel like they're being griefed.
What?
Because it's like, in their minds, because I've heard some of the things that the casual, like super casual audience says, and some of them are really upset that like there are some really cool gear pieces that come out of like higher tier raids or whatever. And
Get good.
Well, I mean, we say get good, but the majority of the player base is not good. So it's like, some of them really, really care about glamours, and if Square were to put some of those really cool or high-end looking glamours in the raids, I could see the the torches and the pitchforks already ready to roast him on Twitter and in the Facebook forums. I don't know. I think this expansion, everybody's gonna be cool. Everybody's gonna be chill. Pretty happy for the most part. But you know, when the sun shines, those shadows start building up, man. So I think Shadowbringers is gonna bring the real shadows the next expansion, bro. I think we're really gonna see the real warriors in darkness.
We're done. You killed it.
No, man, for real. All right, for real. Because Shadowbringers needs to be called Lightbringers, man. This thing is like, this is the golden expansion. But right after this, man, just get ready, bro. It's gonna be dark days.
It's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be fine. The only thing that's not gonna be fine is Monk, but everything else is gonna be
Damn, R.I.P. Monk, bro.
R.I.P. Monk, Monk's dead.
R.I.P. my man Etika, and R.I.P. Monk, yo.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, sir, you got any closing words? We went for we're right at about 3 hours.
I'm about to say this was a.
It was a lengthy
This was long.
one.
Yeah.
But we had a lot to talk about. We weren't rambling too much, I think.
No, we weren't randomly. I'm like, okay, we've been going for a minute, and like,
it's all relevant.
wow. Yeah, it's. But no, yeah, it's overall, yeah, expansion only goes uphill from here.
Yep.
For this expansion right now. Square is pulling out all the stops. Yoshi P and the team. My hat's off to you. Good job. And we're not even done with the story, and it's just, I know you're not going to disappoint because the quality's up there. jobs are for the most part dope. I can be a little salty about monks sometimes, but overall everything's quality. Even gameplay wise. Gunbreaker's amazing, and I'm loving it. So I think I tank this expansion. We'll see.
All right, let me see. My closing statement is, hey man, you know what? I'm gonna say this. I'll go ahead and put this out there. I'll toot my own horn, man. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I said it last podcast, and I'm gonna say it here again.
What?
Gaming is back, boys. WoW just got good again. Everybody's happy with that. Final Fantasy has risen from the ashes, man. I'm about to see a whole bunch of old players that played back in Rome Reborn, man. They're gonna come back and they're gonna be like, this game's lit again, which it is. I'm here for it. I'm here for the changes. This is probably going to be from the way it's looking, this is an expansion I think I'm going to play every single raid tier out. I think I'm going to go all the way through, not take a break. Just
Black is invested.
I low-key thought about like subbing for a year. Low-key.
Oh
yeah. Oh yeah.
Huge.
We were straight wilding. Like, these dungeons have been so good. People were talking about subbing for a year. I was doing a calculation in my head. I was like, subbing for a year is not really that much. Pay for it, it's done. It's technically cheaper. Like,
really cheaper, just paying up front. That's all it is.
Because what is it for a year? It's like what, $80?
Is it 80? That's it?
I think so, bro. I think it's like 85, $86 for the whole year.
That's actually kind of cheap.
Yeah,
That's what I was expecting.
Right? That's cheap, especially during a good expansion. It's like, well, shoot, bro. A little work.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Drop a little 86, bro.
You're making me want to go look into that.
Josie's giving me this look. She's giving me the disapproving look, like, you shouldn't do that for a year. It's only $86. It's not that much. I'm not gonna do it right now, of course. But no, I'm not gonna do it right now. I might do it next month though, low key.
Like, you may do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
So yeah. So any of you guys are playing on Zalera, come hit us up. Our names on YouTube are our names in game.
Oh,
true. Black Impact. That's actually where we got our names, and just been our, not so much handles, but yeah, I guess it's weird,
Yeah.
I don't want to go off too much of a tangent to start our closing thoughts and stuff, but the name Kehda, it just came randomly from putting in the random name generator in 14. It's just stuck ever since. Everyone calls me that now, online at least. So that's just kind of interesting.
Without a shadow of a doubt, Black Impact did not come from the random name generator.
I am not surprised.
That's all homegrown over here, baby. That's straight from the farm. All right, my dude. Let's go ahead and end this thing, yo. Tell the people bye.
Bye.
Later, Final Fantasy nerds.
Deuces.
Deuces.